Hello. Also, my first stream on YouTube. So congrats on being the first person from YouTube to chat. Hey, it's working. I assume you can hear me. But I am trying to, for the first time, stream to both YouTube and Twitch. And it seems to be working. Assume you guys can hear me okay. I'm just wrestling with my cat right now, who is looking for love. And is making starting streaming on time a lot more difficult. Hello Retro, hello Will, hello Dex. Oh shit, my cat almost knocked over my water. Hey Distracted, hey Biologist. Nice to have people jumping in so quickly. How's everyone's week been? Thank you. Daiku, I do well when I don't stream a lot. So when I stream, I'm still kind of getting used to streaming. I typically have a base thing that I do, an activity. Last time I was working on a Witherbloom deck, which I haven't touched since that stream. Which is I need to finish that deck because I probably want to make a video about it, but I need to finish Witherbloom. So yeah, so I usually pick an activity, reviewing a deck, something like that, and then obviously I will answer. Well, I say obviously, but I'll answer questions as I go. So I'll a bit of both. I will probably in the future take requests for deck reviews and do some of those on stream, but right now or today, I have a backlog. So I review decks on my coffee. Something that I offer, either a session or like a full deck build and review. I spend quite a lot of time on them. So I'm gonna do some of that in this stream. I've got a brief and a deck list. I'm gonna work through that deck list. So you'll get to see some of my workings of my brain live. But I'm not taking any specific requests today when it comes to deck lists. I will take questions though. If you've got something you're struggling with the deck, or you have a general question about deck building or anything in Magic, I'm happy to answer questions. That's kind of the goal of these streams. They're supposed to kind of be the place where I'm still recovering from a cough, so I might cough a little bit. I apologize. This is kind of my place where I talk to people and sort of give undivided attention. So if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them. Hey Tex, I'm glad you enjoyed Sauron. I had someone ask in YouTube comments, probably yesterday to be honest, about updating the deck. There hasn't been a whole lot of cards that have come out for that deck in the last couple of sets. There was one or two with Spider-Man. So Chameleon is pretty good because you can discard it and pay it for its mayhem cost. The land, the tricolor land you can discard and play is pretty good. Other than that, I'm waiting for the Hobbit. I'm sure there'll be tons of ring temp cards in the Hobbit because that's really the engine the deck runs on, and it's kind of stalled right now because there's no other ring temp cards. Yeah, I love that Sauron deck. It's like probably my main bracket 2 deck that I play when I go and play it at conventions or when I play with friends who play on the more casual side, because I probably play more bracket 3 and bracket 4 right now, a lot of the time. Hey, nice Distracted, you're getting into Magic. Hello, Jinx. House sitting sounds like a reasonably good time, Will. Glad to have you, Astro. Yeah, so I don't stream a whole lot. I might stream more, but I've historically not streamed very much. So these are kind of test streams for me. So Magic has a Kratos card already, which I will probably bring on stream. Let's see if I change my view. Let's load it up actually. So just change to browsing. Hey, it worked. Nice. So Magic has a Kratos secret lair already. There was a bunch of PlayStation secret lairs. The one I'm going to be building or brewing today is Kratos God of War. So I'm going to just tell me if this is big enough, but It's a pretty cool Magic card, to be honest. It's unique to the secret lair, so there's not another version of this in Magic, unfortunately. It's just this one. If you don't like Universes Beyond, but it is a 3 red mana cost. It has double strike. All creatures have haste. And at the beginning of each player's end step, Kratos deals damage to that player equal to the number of creatures that player controls that didn't attack this turn. So it's one of those kind of commanders that just wants to put the game on a clock and make everyone have a big fight, which I really like. I think it's really cool. I think it offers something to a pod that's pretty unique. I like all creatures have haste in the command zone. I think that can create for some really funny situations. It's a bit of a catch-22, right? Like, great if you're the one who has more power on the board, but if your opponents do, it could be a bit of a problem. Distracted, it depends on whether or not what you want to play. I'm really enjoying Pauper right now. It's super cheap to get into because it's mostly it's all commons. It's a really fun, welcoming format. So if you want to learn how to be good at Magic, I would say pick up Pauper. But if you have friends that play Commander and you want to just play Magic, then Commander's great. It's obviously what I make most of my content for. Daiku, I do have a Discord. It is linked in my YouTube bio, so you can jump in there. I'll also see if I can just give you a link here. I should already have a command for that. Pro Streamer. See if I can paste this here. There you go. I assume that's going to work. Crazy, I am going to be doing a review of a Kratos deck, which I'll get into shortly. That's kind of the backdrop for the stream, but as I've already mentioned, I'm going to be answering questions as I go. If there's any questions you have. Shoot. Yeah, decks. That can happen with that deck. Daiku, I'm reviewing a deck, so I have a whole kind of system I go through. But there's a brief for me here and a deck list that I've already been sent. So I'll be going through this. How I'm going to be building Kratos and how I recommend the deck goes is kind of down to what the person wants, but also what I will build around what they're hoping to achieve. But again, I'll get into that in a minute. Right now, I'm obviously just saying hello to everyone and going through some questions as people jump in. D. McGoob, how often am I having Rule Zero conversations with my locals? What kind of questions do you sort of talk about? I would say there's actually a video I have about pregame conversations. It's probably the worst labeled or marketed video ever. I think it's got Monkey D. Luffy in the thumbnail, and it's become the king of pregame conversations or something like that. But that video will give you a whole lot of my thoughts on Rule Zero conversations, more than I probably can here, because I haven't watched that video in a while. But basically, like every single game you play should have pregame conversations, because I really think it's helpful for Commander, especially on the casual end, like bracket 2 and maybe bracket 3, people to kind of know what a deck's game plan is, so they can kind of, in the worst case, if there's a deck that completely counters one of theirs, like let's say I'm playing a Voltron, or you're playing a Voltron deck and I'm playing a deck that just has Grave Pact effects everywhere. Like, I'm not going to play the Grave Pact deck, because that's just going to make for a really boring experience for both of us. Depending on what kind of person you are, you might find that fun, of just making someone else not be able to play the game. Not you, but one. But yeah, I think pregame conversations are really important, because ultimately you're going to be committing everyone's committing 2 hours of their life to the game. You ideally want it to be a good game, right? Do I have an opinion on deck building with cards that cover multiple categories? Like, how do I account for? Yes, my favorite thing ever. I absolutely love cards that do fulfill multiple roles in a deck, like a creature that's also removal, or multi-mode cards, or MDFCs. Love all of it. Best thing in the game for me. Is at least in Commander. When I have them added to my deck, when I build a deck, so I'm going to show this quickly. I'm going to find one of the decks that I've made. Give me a second. When I make a deck, let's use this as an example. It's the budget one. No, this is the expensive one. So when I build a deck, I will have categories. So if you know how I build things, I typically build based on 5 or 6 key things the deck wants to do. And I usually break them out into my categories here. You'll see, for example, that Kozilek's Unsealing is a draw engine as a secondary category, but my primary category is as cost reducer. So like I will have a card fulfill a primary role in the deck, but if it can do another role at the same time without any downside, or I have to choose, I'll put it in the primary category. Because if let's say, for example, my deck needs 8 or 9 cost reducers, if I have to choose a mode, I want to commit that slot to the card that needs to do that job. If it can do something else, great, but it needs to have a primary function. How do I feel about Atraxa Grand Unifier Zombie Tribal with Atraxa being the false commander and stuff like T-Vol and Marina being the actual commander? Is Atraxa Grand Unifier the one that gives you a bunch of card advantage? It's a hypothetical question. I'm going to go look. Atraxa Grand Unifier, yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, this is a great example of the Rule Zero conversation, because people are going to see this commander and immediately assume you are the problem. It's one of those commanders, right? It's like if you play Ur-Dragon or something. I mean, Ur-Dragon, I think, has been powered down a bit in the modern times, but still, like, or power crept. People are going to see this and go, you're the problem. So you have to kind of be like, no. It's a zombie deck. And like, you kind of have to explain your game plan and when you think you're going to win and how you might win. And that'll make people a lot more comfortable and you'll probably have a better time because of it. But I think it's fine as a deck. A friend of yours has a Kratos deck. Cool. It'll be really interesting to see how what I end up cooking up is similar to that. Don't know whether it'll be anyway remotely similar. I love O'Hare Exonal. I love O'Hare Exonal. Such a fun card. I was going to build it. I have a kind of a budget version that I built that I haven't made a video about. But a friend plays it in bracket 4 and it's so much fun. Such a fun dynamic in the game. Welcome to the Discord, Daiku. Should you do a one-color commander deck or multicolor deck? Depends what you enjoy. Depends, like, I like building around a commander, a specific commander. So, if you find a commander that you enjoy, that looks cool, build around it. Doesn't matter whether it's one or multicolors. Some of the most powerful commander decks are one color. I think people think that one color is a downside. In the modern game, they have homogenized, which is the big word for kind of made everything the same across different colors. And like, even a color red, which typically has no removal, now has a bunch of types of removal or protection spells, that kind of thing. So, a good example is my Vincent deck, or I built a Vincent deck with the goal of giving it to Matt Mercer. I have a video about that on my channel. But that deck, from the outside, probably looks pretty weak, but it's really strong. It wins really early. Just a strong red deck. And like, you can play, what's his name? Artifact Man. Blanking on the name. Urza? Yeah, Urza. You can build Urza, Monobu Urza. It's an incredibly strong deck. So yeah, whatever you like. No real advice as to which you should choose. Hey German King, I'm glad you like my deck building advice and templates. I'm busy working on a sort of more structured guide to deck building. It's not done yet. It's very in the formative stages, but I think people have asked me a little bit for things that like, because a lot of my videos are quite information dense and having it in more of a structured way that they can work through that's not necessarily in a video. So I'm going to try and build something that people can have access to do that. Maybe there's more where that's coming from. With the balance of commander in bracket 4 that can swing for 70 damage on turn 6, you turn down to bracket 3 so you don't lose friends. I mean, if you, I think it's fine in bracket 4. If you're having fun with it, if you don't feel like you're getting outpowered by people, I think it's fine. Hey, War the Lion. Hey, Jackie Moose. One thing you really struggle with in your own brewing decks is finding and knowing possible win conditions. Any suggestions on finding new win conditions? Understanding what win conditions are available. Is this in relation to the video that I put out yesterday? Or is it just a general question? Because if it's just a general question, your timing is great. I can't remember if I saw you in the comments. Sorry, there's a lot of comments. So I kind of forget who I commented on or not. So this is part of me working through my deck building process, but like, I think for most newer players, I would really recommend once you have a commander that you find, that you, before you do anything else, think about how you're going to win the game, and ideally find a couple of cards that will help you win the game that you're kind of building towards. My whole video yesterday was about building with the end in mind and basically working backwards. And I'm sure I've said that before, but like this was a focus video on that. So I really think that's important. How do you find the cards? If you really don't know at all, I would say that looking up existing decks or looking on EDH Rec are not bad places to go. Like, just remember that EDH Rec as a place is the average, right? So if you take a commander like Sephiroth, who could be played in bracket 4 and be played in bracket 2, EDH Rec is the average of all of the decks that exist in the last 2 years that people have made on places like Moxfield and Architect for the commander. So the cards that are in there, some of them are going to be good in bracket 4, some of them are going to be good in bracket 2, and as are the win conditions. And lots of people build really bad decks, and it's averaging all the decks. So I would say have a look at a place like Architect to get an idea of what you might want to build towards. Have a look at, when I was building my bracket 4 Zuladoc deck, I found a fringe CDH list that someone had built. It won a competition, like a small competition. So I built some of the combos from that into my deck, because despite playing the game for a long time, like I'm not that, I haven't played high power commander with all the combos that exist there in a long time. Same as when I built Azula. So I did an Azula review for someone and then made my Azula video, and I had to go and learn all those combos. So I wouldn't have thought about how to win with Azula unless I went and looked around at what other people were thinking about doing. Sometimes I can come up with something creative and unique of my own. But when it comes to combos, it's so complicated, especially if you look at that, if you've watched my Azula video, you know the stack manipulation of like playing a spell, copying a spell, untapping something, or like when I made Stella Lee, and it's like the stack interaction of play, put untap trigger on stack, tap the commander, put another trigger on the stack, like it's so complicated. So like I would say go and look at some other examples. I'm falling behind on the questions here, but I'm just gonna work through chat and then answer questions, and then when I reach parity, if I reach parity, I'll go into what I was gonna do. But right now, given there's a lot of good questions, I'm just gonna work through some of these questions as I cough. Is there meta mono green or mono red CDH decks? I think that Alexios. I think his name is Alexios. This is the one. He is a pretty common CDH commander. Slicer. So Slicer can be played in CDH. Green, you're probably looking at something like, what's the name? Like a tree folk-ish something. But yes, there are mono red and green decks, but they're not the best ones because of how easy it is to make multiple colors of mana in CDH. The best decks are almost always going to be 3 to 5 colors, just because they have access to more tools. You like Spellslinger, I want to make a Jeskai deck. Go and watch my video. So Sorry, I'm just gonna do some self-advertising here. Switch from my personal account. Where my streamers come up. Thanks, YouTube. Doxing my personal account. Okay, so... There is a video on my channel. I need to do one of these again. So this... No. It's like cheating. What was this? Episode 1. Oh, here we go. This one. So this video... Welcome, fellow spellslinger. Is a video I did about Shiko Paragon of the Way. So I got a review in this video. Someone wanted me to build Shiko. Where are you? Hello? Okay, I'm just gonna show you the deck list. Sorry, that was a pointless side quest. Let me just show you the deck list. But in that video, the reason I brought the video is you can see my thought processes for how I build Shiko. But if you want to play a Spellslinger Jeskai deck, I would say that something like Shiko is a really fun example. So this Shiko deck, I think, is a lot of fun. It's all flicker with Shiko and like chaining spells out of the graveyard and stuff. It's pretty cool. So I would have recommend you look at that. Or look at my least deck. Obviously, that's not Jeskai. Elisha the Infinite, very similar. I think my least deck could probably help with the Elisha one. And sorry, I'm just jumping around in tabs here, but I assume it's fine. Huh? It's Elsha, not Elisha. Need casting up your library. Yeah, I would say that look at my least deck, because almost every single card in that deck draws cards, and I think for Elsha, you're gonna want to do that. Because it'll help you draw. Because the problem with a card like Elsha is that if you hit a land, you're kind of screwed. So you really want to be able to have a lot of card draw, so you can draw through the lands when you hit them. Distracted, good beginner friendly commanders. Honestly, probably not a bad video to make. I think something fairly simple. A deck and a commander that has a simple plan that's easy to execute. Something like Pantalaza, I think, is a great beginner commander because it's strong. Or Hackball of the Surging Soul. Those are great beginner commanders because... So I'm just going to put this on screen for you. Pantalaza is a great beginner commander because its ability is powerful. Whenever it or another dinosaur enters the battlefield, you can discover X, where X is the creature's toughness. It's a cool mechanic to build around. It's strong, but it's simple. Once per turn, you're going to get extra value, and that's what your commander does. So it's not confusing. You don't have to build around intricate combos or anything. Same for Hackball. Beginning of combat in your turn, each Merfolk creature you control explores. Whenever Hackball attacks you, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and if you don't, you draw a card. Super powerful, very simple, and that's what I would think about when I look for a beginner commander. Yeah, Dex, I think I already answered that, but I would say it's the rare time I'll be like, go and look at EDH Rec, go and look at EDH Rec and places like, you know, where you find cool decks, and have a look at what they put in as their win conditions. Just take it with a grain of salt though, because sometimes, you know, people are building for bracket 4, building toxic decks. Andrew Tate 3799. God, I hope this was the real Andrew Tate. The things I would say to that man. None of them positive. And if you're not that Andrew Tate, man, I'm sorry that guy's ruined your name. Fuck. How do you create a deck that is chill for most tables? My playgroup loves playing bracket 4 decks, and it's at a point where I do not have a deck for newer players or lower power tables. I mean, just build a bracket 2 deck. So I think that, like, if you look at the commander brackets, I'm gonna go back here, commander brackets. And I'm aware that probably if you're on Twitch, the YouTube chat and vice versa isn't showing up, so you don't necessarily know. That's why I'm trying to talk through the questions that I get. And I realize I'm like 7-8 minutes behind on chat, so just bear with me. But if you're trying to build a bracket 2 deck, I would say that you just want to really focus around... Is this the old one? Oh, this is the old one. That's not what I want. That's not... Wow, I typed April. I meant October. Man's cooked. He is cooked. Okay, so... If you look at this, I think that the bracket will give you really everything that you need to think about how to build a good bracket 2 deck. I think that the key thing for me... There's two key things. Also, which I talk about in my most recent video. But the two key things is, one, you want to build a deck that's not going to win too early. So, you know, it's naturally going to win on turn 8 or turn 9 or turn 9 or 10. Not because you're sandbagging, not because you have utter control over the game and no one can do anything, but because your deck naturally wins around turn 9 or 10. You have to take the time to build out a board. It's not... The cards don't interact that well. And then, secondly... to build a deck that doesn't impact others too heavily. When I say impact others, I mean, you probably don't want to be running effects like Grave Pact in bracket 2, right? Just so in case you don't know, Grave Pact is an enchantment that says whenever a creature of yours dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. That's super toxic to a lot of decks. When I say toxic, I just mean that it's rough to play against if you don't have an answer for it. And I think often in bracket 2, people don't have answers for things, and that's fine. So I think I really like in bracket 2 building a deck that has its own game plan, that obviously has some interaction, but I'm not wiping the board every 2 turns, and I'm not, I don't run tons of removal. I want people to feel like they have a chance to play the game. And often that just means building a deck that I find so interesting to play, even if it's lower power, that I don't care too much about it taking more time. That's kind of what I would think about for bracket 2. Crazy Dragon, you're the example of what I mean about not shutting down the game, winning through oppression. If you're playing bracket 4 and to a degree bracket 3, that's fine, but I hope you're not doing that in bracket 2. Oh man, I want to build Fleam so badly. I'm just so time poor at the moment, but yeah, I love Fleam. I hope they give a proper printing and paper for him, not Green Goblin, because I don't hate Universes Beyond, but like the ones that are based in real life, the comic book ones, for me, I'm just not really my thing. And yeah, Commander Spellbook is a great suggestion, Roaming Storm. Distracted. These are the Commander brackets. It's a pleasure. So you can go and have a look at these. These are, just to be clear, these are a communication tool. It says so at the top. That people can use to make sure that they build decks that have roughly ideal experiences for the type of level that they play at or that they want to play at. Like, I have my own issues with this at times. Like, I think that the Commander brackets are incredibly unfair to aggressive decks because they basically force a situation where an aggressive deck may only win at the same time as a control deck. And if you know how Magic works and you understand that the rock, paper, scissors of this game, you know that aggressive decks are strong early at the trade of being weak later, and control decks are weak early at the strength of being strong later. And if you put an artificial cap on when someone can win, and you say that an aggressive deck and a control deck can only win at the same turn, it creates an immediate imbalance. So I don't love everything about the brackets. However, I will say they're a fantastic tool, and I definitely recommend using them, especially if you're new. Hey, Palastar, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I am not averse to kind words. Starico, firstly, hello. Any advice on how to win with mono blue? You're making a mono blue You the Moon Spirit deck. Let's load this up so I can... Man, that's some pretty art. Almost looks like Final Fantasy art. Obviously, I know it's Avatar, but to me, it looks almost more like Final Fantasy. I was not a massive... I didn't really get into Avatar. Tons of other anime and manga, but not really Avatar, so I don't really recognize the source material too much. Especially beyond the main characters. You're making a You the Moon Spirit deck, and you're looking for ideas other than big spells and making tokens from spellcasting triggers. Bracket 2 and low 3. So, if I think about looking at this card, right? So it's a 4 mana 3/3. It has Flying and Vigilance. Waterbend 5. You may cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying a mana cost. I mean, really, you're going to want to protect this commander, so I would say protection is something you definitely want. Cheap protection. Things that give her hexproof, for example, or cheap counter magic. So that would be one category of spells I would definitely have. I would definitely want interaction. So that's almost 2 of your categories already out of your 5, because one of yours is making lots of tokens or generating lots of creatures, and the other one is your big game-winning spells, which I assume are things like extra turns and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think because you've got, I'm going to call it the whimsy here, because you've got your whimsy and your like your major thing your deck wants to do in making creatures to pay for costs and massive spells. I think the rest of your deck kind of has to be vegetables, which is some cheap card draw, some cheap interaction, and some cheap protection. That's probably what I would do with this commander, but I'd have to look at it in more detail to give you a proper answer. Oh yeah, watching CEDH can warp your mind for sure, Dex. Muddle the Ever-Changing. Roaming, you're asking, what are my thoughts on Muddle the Ever-Changing? It's gonna be Muddle Mixture. Ooh. I'm gonna be honest, I don't love that art. I like the otter. I don't love the shrimpy Eldrusi behind it. Don't love this. It's an Izzet commander though, which I absolutely love. Oh, I suppose this is Secrets of Strixhaven, so it's not LOL. Prismari. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Muddle becomes a copy of up to one other target non-legendary creature you control until the end of the turn, except it has Myriad. That's really cool. So, okay, so firstly, I love commanders like this that A, have a really strong vision for what it wants the deck to do, and B, is a unique ability that can kind of break the game, and Myriad can really break the game. It really depends on what creatures you have. So, you know, there are cool things that you can do with this, right? So, like, off the top of my head, Muldrifter, for example, right? So, if you don't know Muldrifter... So, when you Myriad with this, you would get 2 triggers of draw 2 cards. Or if it was an Atali, you would get double triggers of the exile play. That's really cool. I really like that. I think that's really interesting. I really like that commander. Big fan, Roaming Storm. Definitely build it. I think it's probably good in bracket 3. Not bracket 4. Maybe bracket 2 as well. Oh yeah, Magda. Magda's super cool. I like. Lumber is good as well. What website is that to look at magic cards? This is Scryfall. So in terms of the sort of big websites that I use for Magic, I use Moxfield, right? I use Architect. So both of the deck building tools. I use Moxfield kind of for my own doodlings, and I use Architect more for my public facing stuff. So like my Architect profiles where I keep all my decks and the decks I have in videos. I try to keep it updated as much as I can. And then there's Scryfall, which I use a lot to search up cards. Those are kind of the major things that I use when I'm deck building. And EDH Rec. Obviously, EDH Rec is kind of the original one that most people, I think, end up on. Looking at commanders and cards and going through individual decks, and probably EDH Rec is the most useful if you're a beginner because it gives you the most direction. Just with the caveat that I made earlier that like it's the average. You gotta be aware that lots of people build bad decks, and it's looking at bracket 2 to CDH to bracket 1. Okay, we're catching up on chat slowly. Hey, Devastated. You tried so hard to make this work without oppressive stacks. Not good enough to build it. Yeah, that's fair. Goreclaw Mono Green. Is this the Goreclaw that's the cost reduction one? Goreclaw. I mean, big creatures, card draw the triggers of big creatures, profit. Hey, Banana Rapper. Cool name. Love the content. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Assume you're a man. Don't want to assume your gender, but appreciate it. Hey, Dex. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that series of videos. I assume you're talking about this so good. It's like cheating. I need to make more of those. Technically, every time I do a review of a deck, which I will get to shortly, I kind of want to put those into a video, but I'm just behind at the moment. Tatty, any advice on making a lower power deck suitable for most tables? You've played the game a while and most of the decks are tuned and expensive. It's simple. I mean, I think I just talked through that, which I assume you heard me talk about. Yeah, you would have heard me talk about that, so I've answered this already. How do I approach building land bases in Wooburg decks based on pip count? You found that your land ramp bases suck. Also working on Wooburg cost, not from hand. I'm not sure about the commanders part, but I will answer the mana part. So I actually need to make another video about mana, but I did a video on mana bases. I don't know if you've seen it. Bowl cut. Let's have a gaming. So I'll find this video for you. So I made a video about mana bases. There you go, this one. So I would recommend, I copy this. Advertising. I'll pop this in chat. And then I have to scroll back up. I would recommend you watch that. But in brief, I think for Wooburg mana bases, especially on a budget, you want to be focused around a green core, and you want to be searching for lands that have types. So spells like 3 visits and stuff are really good because they can get you, even at a budget, you can get dual tap lands that come into play. I mean, they cost nothing, and they'll come into play and give you 2 of your land types. So yeah, you want to make sure you think about how many pips you have and then base your mana base around that in terms of balance. But I think any 5 color mana base should always be based around a green core and then be based around fetching land types. I think that's the way to do it. But that video will give you more thoughts on that in more detail. Entendre, how do you find consistency in Hyper Aggro Voltron? Your commander deck you're building is Shagrat the Loot Bearer. Shagrat, okay. Entendre, are you excited about the Hobbit? I know, I sure am. Whenever Shagrat the Loot Bearer attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it, then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment attached to Shagrat. So I think that the tricky thing about this is, like, I would almost say that Shagrat's amass ability is negligent, because so I made a video about 1/1 counters a while back, and this is kind of a similar problem. For Shagrat to make any meaningful amount of equipment, to make any meaningful amount of Orc army, he's going to be a huge threat based on the equipment that are attached to him. So, like, the Orc army is basically, for me, just the blocker. How do you make a Voltron deck consistent? Well, I think it's being able to make sure your commander either connects or doesn't die. So protection, for sure. and having decent amount of card draw. Because if you can keep your commander protected, keep it big, and then draw lots of cards to make sure you draw more protection, you kind of are onto the right thing. And normally I would say you want some vigilance or blockers, but the orcs are going to do that here. So I think it's actually pretty good in that way. But that's what I would say. What do I think? Hello, Lord Hades. What do I think is the best snow commander? You like snow as a mechanic? I don't know a lot about snow, I'm afraid. I didn't really pay much attention to Ice Age back in the day and the follow-up snow sets. So I'm afraid that's one question I'm not the best person to answer. Maybe someone in chat can tell you. Jason, hello. Another question. What color pairings do I think is somewhat beginner friendly? 2-color, even 3-color? I think all color pairings are beginner friendly, to be honest. Yeah, I think the colors are equal when it comes to being beginner friendly. I think probably the hardest color to play well is blue. Partially because blue is so interaction based, and its interaction speed is one of its strengths, and like this is true for control, but like if you're gonna play well as a control deck, you need to understand what the other decks are trying to do, and often for a new player that's harder. So I think blue is probably the one that I'd you want a proactive game plan as a new player, or beginner put it that way. As a beginner, you want a proactive game plan, one that's not too reactive, and I think blue often skews very reactive. But again, if you're playing Hackball of the Surging Soul, which I showed earlier, you're fine, and he's blue, so you keep swapping back and decks. You keep swapping back and forth between YouTube and Twitch. Two people are saying both. Yeah, I think unless I'm mistaken, you're not allowed to show YouTube chat on Twitch. That might be a thing. I don't know. I'm again pretty new to streaming. Watched a lot of streams, but so I'll figure that out for next time. I'll try and see how I can do that. That's also why I'm reading out the names in the comments so that people can get some context before I answer a question. Dry. Okay, you answered the question. That's great. Is there a good Cat Dragon commander deck out there that doesn't care about winning per se? No fun and the chance of winning. There is a Cat Dragon. It's in what's black, white, and red color pairing again? Cat Dragon. This is the one I was thinking of. Wasatora. Oh, it's in Jund. It's pretty basic though. I don't think it's that good. Nah, I think Cat Dragons are pretty limited, my friend. Yeah, no, not really, I'm afraid. Brandon Elliott. Any advice on building an combat focused deck like Fear Crag or a token generator for bracket 3? Or how to create a powerful win condition? Like you find big dragons too slow for bracket 3. I think there's lots of combat focused decks. I think that... So I built the deck around Iron Man. He's combat focused. This dude. Any of the Otter decks will be combat focused. There's a really cool commander that when you discard cards, you draw cards. Trying to think of the name. EDH Rec will save me. One moment, please. Commanders, 2-color. Is it? We will find her. We will find her. Someone has probably already in chat said her name. And this is redundant. But I'm going to have a look anyway. She'll be here. There we go. Riel the Everwise. So she gets +1/+0 for each instant sorcery card in your graveyard. And whenever you discard one or more cards for the first time each turn, you draw that many cards. She is very strong. But yeah, she's definitely combat focused. There's probably a bunch more. But I think I would recommend looking at scrolling through the front page of EDH Rec and seeing any pirate deck. like Breaches and Malcolm. Eris is pretty combat focused. So yeah, a bunch. Bria is the one I was thinking about as combat focused. You might want to look into Bria. I think she's really cool. Whenever other creatures you control have prowess, she has prowess, and then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature can't be blocked. Very combat focused. Hello, Green Bean. Welcome. I realized you said hello 6 minutes ago, but we're catching up to chat. We're gonna make it. What's the best, German King, what's the best way to get advice on a deck? You watched my video where I mentioned a bracket 2 Tom Bombadil deck. Are you looking for advice on a Tom Bombadil deck, or just you best way to get my advice? I mean, there's you can ask me for advice whenever you want to my Discord, but I'm very bad at replying. I honestly think that streams like this are the best way to get quick thoughts from me. I also obviously offer paid time, but I know not everyone can do that, so I'm not suggesting that you do that by any means. More people that are rich. But yeah, here's a good. It's good to ask me here. Roaming. I think I gave my thoughts on Muddle the Ever-Changing already. Hope you heard them. Very cool. TLDR. Very cool. Italy plus Muddle sounds like a good time. Hey, Lothidus. Maybe. You're welcome to add me in my Discord, and I'll try and get to it. But I have a queue of 3 deck reviews that people have paid for, and I feel like until I have done those, I may not look at other people's decks, or I will get shocked from the heavens by some kind of Greek god. But hopefully, we'll start walking through that soon. Hopefully, my thoughts on Kratos initially, because I'll be giving some broad thoughts that will probably help you, will give you some insight that I would probably have given you anyway. Techno Wizard. Well, I'm 15 minutes behind chat. Holy shit, I thought I was catching up. Okay, I'm going to scroll through this quickly unless there's questions that I think are really, really good. Hello, Ellipsicongaroo. It's a name and a half. Stariko, absolute pleasure. Mahira, hello. Typical Seeds. Am I planning on making a Berta deck? Why did I recently think about Berta? Did someone ask me about Berta? Did someone talk about Berta? I am not planning on making a Berta deck currently. If I was to make a frog deck, I would probably make Clement, Warrior. I think that's the frog's name. A tempo deck. Decks, have I ever used Recommander? Gives some interesting stats. No, I have not. And Roaming Storm. Yeah, not a bad suggestion. I might do that. Hey, Winter. Thanks, my friend. I hope you're still here that you hear me seeing this, but thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Dry. Where do you get singles from in Australia? I would recommend. There's lots of small storms that are small stores that are really good. Games Portal, absolute banger. Shout out to Games Portal. They where I get all my Pauper playsets from because they often have stock when others don't. MTG Mate is probably one of the best, I would say, in the country. Plenty of Games down in Melbourne has reasonable stock. There is, of course, Good Games, but I find them on the expensive side. And the secret tech, for my taste, is Hareruya in Japan. So Hareruya is a big Magic store in Japan. They have fantastic stock. They ship to Australia in about a week. Shipping is pretty cheap, and they have really good stock even in English. So, for example, Ghostly Flicker is a card that's actually really hard to find in Australia. But you can, for example, sort by just English ones over here, and it'll show you Ghostly Flicker. So you can see they've got pretty low stock at the moment, but there is 8 in stock of Ghostly Flicker. So they've got playsets of stuff. I really, really highly recommend Haruria. It's where I ordered... I don't know if you saw, I put on a video on Twitter recently of my new set of counterspells. I'm going to bring this up because they're so pretty. I want to share them. But I put out a video of my counterspells, and I could only find these on Haruria. I didn't check Card Kingdom because there was too... it's too expensive to ship from Card Kingdom, or too slow, but these were almost impossible to find. But Haruria had them. So, yeah, Haruria, the GOAT. But in Australia, if you want to support Aussie, MTG Mate, maybe Games Portal, maybe plenty of games. Any tips for building a commander deck with random cards? Nah, just build it. Have fun. And yeah, Will, definitely, for everyone that saw Will's comment, don't take EDH Rec as gospel. You really don't want to do that. What are some good win cons in a Grixis deck? Really depends on your commander. Lifts by David. Really depends what your commander is and what you're trying to do. I'm happy to answer more specific, but I think it depends on what your deck is doing rather than generic win cons. Obviously, to avoid the generic trap, you want to focus on what your deck's doing, and then it's subjective. I could give you the wrong ones for your deck. Hey, Mindless, appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying what I make. Andreas Fiza, do you feel like Infect and Poison can be a reasonable strategy at bracket 2? Or always higher than that? Yeah, I think Poison can be reasonable at bracket 2. I think it gets a bit of a bad rap, to be honest. I think the trick is here, Andreas. In bracket 2, you don't want to win the game before turn 9. So, if your Poison deck is naturally only going to win the game by turn 9 or 10, without you sandbagging, then I think it's fine. Poison's fine. Minus what win cons would decks like Henzi, Toolbox, or more mid-rangey decks go for? Typically, they're just going to try and fill the board with really powerful creatures. Things like Combustible Gear Hulk, or Itali, or Protean Hulk, and just really outvalue and then recycle from the graveyard and just build a massive value engine. That's usually how a mid-rangey, especially Jund deck, would win. But it depends on the colors. Like, look at my Marin deck. So it's on Architect, Mindless, if you haven't seen it. So on my Architect and Marin decks over here, pretty up to date, but like, my win cons with my Marin deck are recycling Kokusho, Archik, Grey Merchant, and doing that in over 1 to 2 turns like 4 or 5 times. So that's how a lot of Jund decks will win, is stuff like that. Hey Henry, I hope you're enjoying Shurikai. You're welcome to add me in my Discord if you put it in the brewing channel. There are also people in there who can help. I can't promise I'll get to it because I think I just said this, but I'm behind at the moment, and until I review decks that people have paid for, I feel bad. Dark Folklore. Lesser known tips for building a Hearthhold deck. I mean, I don't know if it's lesser. Did I do a video on Hearthhold? Hearthhold? I'm pretty sure I did. One moment, please. The frog with bad memory is looking at their YouTube channel. I thought I did a video about Hearthhold. One moment. Kefka, Marika, no. Rafine, Shiko, Riku of Many Paths. I was convinced I did a video about Hearthhold. Maybe it was a video where I talked about him, but I didn't. It wasn't. He's not like part of the thumbnail. So with Hearthhold, I think the tip is always to just go for like a sack combo route. If you can get to 10 mana and you have Splendid Reclamation, so I'm gonna bring this up, but I'm so sure I did. Maybe I just reviewed a Hearthhold deck. Yeah, I don't know. So if you can get to 10 mana and you have selected, if you so 10 lands, and you have Zuran Orb. Oh, 1 second. Frog can't click. Thumbs no work. There's one or two other cards that can allow you to sacrifice lands without a cost, like this. So if you have Half Hull and you have Zuran Orb, you can tap your 10 lands, sacrifice them to Zuran Orb, do 20 damage, use 4 of your mana to play Splendid Reclamation, sack all your lands again, and you win the game. I think those kinds of loops are what you really want to play for in Hearth Hull. If you're playing it in bracket 3, that might be too strong for bracket 2. But in bracket 3, I think it's fine. Mahera, you're pretty new to Magic. You built up about 1,000 cards. How would you go about organizing cards to help you figure out what deck you want to build? Honestly, I think having a lot of cards is not really of any value to me personally. Not saying there's anything against collecting, anything against having a big collection, but having 1,000 cards to sit in a box doesn't really do anything for you. And whilst it can be fun to scroll through that list of cards and build a deck from those cards, I think it's more important to figure out what you enjoy, and spending some time watching gameplay shows or playing the game and looking at different decks and figuring out what you like. And then finding, if you're playing Commander, for example, a commander that you really like, and then going through your collection and discovering which cards that you have that can fit into that deck with what you want. Like, again, if you think about, let's say, for example, you see Hearth Hull, right? And you go, okay, I want to build Hearth Hull. And then you go through your collection, you explore, and you discover in your collection cards that could work in Hearth Hull. I think that's the best way to do that, and it's going to be the most fun for you than going from your collection and working backwards, if that makes sense. Okay, mindless, no stress. Peace out, or Psyte. Hope you have fun with Vincent. It's very one-dimensional, but I hope you like it. Green Bean, Itsu. Itsu is your favorite commander. What is Itsu? Is it this one? Itsuka the Releth? No, this is Itsu? Oh, that's an L. That's an L. That's an L. Oh god, we've opened up all the German cards. I can't find which commander this is. Feel free to put it in chat again. Sleepy Climber, you think you're building your first deck? Any advice? Something straightforward. I talked about this earlier, but like Pandalaza, Hackball, something where your game plan is very clear and defined, and where building the deck is almost automatic because your commander wants such a specific game plan. Decks, I think black, white, and red is a super interesting color combination. What is the card from Final Fantasy? There is the... There is the commander that's super strong, but that doesn't have to be built super strong. What is her name? I will find her. Where is she? She's here somewhere. Huh? Is she not Final Fantasy? Nah, she must be Final Fantasy. She's the one with Persist. I must just not be clocking her. She must. She's here somewhere. You know, sometimes when your eyes just don't work. Oh, maybe she's Final Fantasy Commander? Yeah, I think she was in the Commander decks. Is it Terra? No, I don't think it's Terra. Okay, let's just make this easy. Celeste Rune Knight. That's the one I was thinking of. That's a really fun commander. In the Mardu color pairing. Hey, Peter. You're still here. Appreciate your kind words. You think a frog would be able to read chat better with big eyes, right? Faster chat reading. Hey, Alpia. Yes, I did look at Muddle a little bit. I don't know if you heard me talk about it, but I've spoken about Muddle kind of twice now, so I'm just going to skip over that. If you still want me to talk about Muddle, just put it in the chat and I'll obviously get back to it. Amarant Coral. So Techno Wizard is asking any suggestions on Amarant Coral as a commander. Amarant. Oh, learned to spell. Amarant Coral. That's cool art. Whenever trample, he attacks each combat if able. Whenever Amarant Coral deals damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. I mean, this is basically Vincent, right? So if you don't know, I built a Vincent deck. And whenever he deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each opponent if his power is 7 or greater. So it's basically the same thing. So I would say, Techno Wizard, if you want advice on Amarant Coral, go and look at my Vincent deck list. And add green. So basically, ramp. You're going to want to ramp. You're going to want to have power doubling. You're going to want to have double strike. You're going to want to have a little bit of power buffing. So I would say between decks that I have built in the past. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around here. And I know I'm horribly behind chat. So I appreciate if you ask a question, just know I'm going to get to it in about 10 minutes. So stick around because I will answer your questions. If you've answered them, you think I'm not going to get there, I will answer. Just a little bit behind. So I have. Why you no show me Vincent? Why you no show me Vincent? Okay, let's just go here. Let's just go here. So if you go and look at my Vincent list, and you go and look at my John Benton list, so I'll actually just link these in chat for you if you're still here. John Benton. There's Vincent. If you go and look at those two lists, I think it's going to give you most of what you'll need for your Amarant deck. In terms of the kind of things that you want, plus ramp. Because there's no ramp in either of these decks. Okay, I'm just going back up to chat again. Any commanders that stack up 1-1 counters distracted? I have a war with 1-1 counters. But Vincent stacks up 1-1 counters, so you could build him. There's lots of cool 1-1 counters commanders. You could build the Mothman. Paper Nathan, can you cut the line if your deck is really cool? You can try. I can't promise you'll be successful. You can try. Is there anything you need to consider when building an arena deck in paper? No, not really. Kind of the same thing. Just think of the format you're building for. Hey, John. Didn't know I streamed. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Calyx is cool. I like it. Hey, Bellineer. Your group, Michael Zaidas, your group plays bracket 3, but due to a couple of players having a lot more experience than the rest, they tend to unwind the board easily while you're stuck behind. Is there a way to fix that? Kill them. Is the easy way to fix that? Yeah, I mean, I have a whole video about playgroups and this kind of thing that playgroups go through where some people just play really strong decks and then it's this arms race and everyone tries to up the level of decks and play stronger decks. I would suggest the best way to fix this, in my opinion, is to have a budget deck building challenge where you have a limit of $1 per card and everyone builds budget decks. And you probably want to put on some guardrails there. No commanders like light paws or dumb things like that, but maybe pick a set and someone has to build, everyone builds a budget commander from that set. Like you go, oh, Final Fantasy. Everyone has to build a Final Fantasy commander where every card is under $1. I think that's how you solve that problem and how you have a lot of fun. Building budget challenges with my friends is the most fun I have in Commander. Despite having very expensive high-power decks, that's the most fun. You can also specify a bracket if you want, but I don't think you need to. German King, support's really not necessary. I appreciate people do, but I'm happy that you get value from what I do. Again, you can post the deck in my Discord. If you have, I would say if you want specific advice on key things, key problems you're facing, do that. Otherwise, German King, what I'm probably going to put out soon is a guide. I will probably charge for it. It won't be super expensive, but I'll be putting out a deck building guide, and I think it'll be focused around helping you learn how to fix your own decks. And that's probably where I would say if you want to support me, that's a good thing to do, because I'm going to try and teach you how to, in a really structured way, go through fixing or building a deck of yours. So hopefully that would help you. Meeptim, your question is, in my video where I say people should start building their decks in reverse, where should you start? How does this work when you're trying to build a particular commander? So I think if you find your commander that you want to build, if you're very new and you don't know anything, I would suggest looking at places like EDH Rec, which I mentioned earlier, finding deck lists that already exist, and then taking those but applying your own thinking to them. Maybe look at how they plan to win. Watch a video on YouTube, look at someone talking about the deck that they've made. Look mostly at how those deck plans to win, and then trying to build backwards from there. It's probably the best advice I could give you. It's hard to give you more detail than that, but that's probably what I would say. Bravebird, hello. Yeah, Haruya is the GOAT. I love Haruya. Haruya, if you see this, by all means, sponsor me. And Lothudus, yes, Haruya ships to Australia. For cheap. Probably the same shipping price you'd pay in Australia, to be honest. Is bracket 2 budget Ragos achievable? Blue Lizard, yes it is, and I have a video all about it on my channel. Go and watch my video about Shell's Kitchen, because that is a bracket 2 list. This one over here. I will share it for you in the comments if you are still here. Or in chat. Did that just go to chat? I don't know. I'm going to paste it again. Oh, there we go. Enjoy this. There are links in that video to the decks. Yes, Distracted, you are correct about counter spells. Any tips as a good finisher for Venom Lethal Protector that doesn't involve draining life? I think I made a Venom deck for someone, and I hope they don't mind, but I might share it with you. One moment, please. Belania, I hope you're still here. Hope. Is this Venom Lethal Protector? Why do I have 3 of these decks? Is this Venom Lethal Protector or is this Venom... different Venom? Oh, it is. Here we go. So I made this. This was a review for someone, a paid review, that had a certain plan in mind as to what they wanted to do. This was my deck for them. Really, they were focused on just combat damage, with a focus on sacrificing cheating into play, big creatures. For example, Hulk versus Swarm that you can cast for less mana, and then getting the value out of it. So, oh, sorry. There's two things this deck, two ways this deck. I'm remembering it now as I look at it again. The finishes here were twofold. One, extra combats, but two, ETB triggers. So cheating into play, big creatures, and then using spells like Warstorm Surge to ping people. That's one of the big win conditions. Or drawing lots of cards and killing people with stuff like Kratos Crawler. So stuff like that. But Terror of the Peaks, this is a budget deck, to be clear. But Warstorm Surge, Terror of the Peaks are probably your primary win conditions. And then just cheat into play some massive creatures. Hope that helps you, Billionaire. Decks, yeah, the counter spells are very, very cool. I'm very happy with them. Von Pepper, what do I think about Marina Vendrell as a commander? Marina Vendrell is cool. However, limited. Because obviously there's some limitations, right? Her second ability is all about rooms, so you want to play rooms, so that kind of locks you in. And then her other ability gets you lots, just, you know, any enchantment, which is great. I think she's cool. She's definitely unique as an enchantment commander. And 5 color, which means you can play anything. Sleepy the Climber, hello, I hope you're still here. Any tips on building your first commander deck? I mean, I think that you're choosing good commanders because Wick and Shrufus both give you a really strong direction. And I think I just talked about this already, but pick a commander that has a really strong direction that makes building the deck much simpler. Because if you're building Wick and Shrufus, a lot of what your goal plan will be is already baked into the commander. Bowl Cut, you made a Zada secret commander deck with Cypher and Marcy in the command zone. Do you have any card recs? I mean, I think Zada is such a solved commander that I probably couldn't add on much more value beyond what's already out there. Some commanders like Zada are just so widely built, and especially as a budget deck, that I would have to go and research to give you a good answer. That's probably not the best thing to do right now. Earl Maid, hello, welcome. Hey Kati. Green Bean, Isu, there we go, we got there. I caught up with your comment, yay. Where's Isu? Isu the Abominable. You may look at the top card of your library, you play Snowlands and cast snow spells. Whenever another slow permanent enters, you may play if you do put a counter on it. Yeah, Isu's cool. I can't remember what your question was about it, but Isu's a cool commander. Any commanders that work in all brackets? Tons. Some commanders won't work. I would say you could probably build something like with a degree. Let's be cautious about bracket 5. I mean with CDH, but like you could probably build Merrin in all brackets. One of my videos that I'm going to be doing in the next month or two is taking a specific commander and building it across all 5 brackets. So Distracted, stick around for that one. Yeah, Dex, I absolutely love the Farm Fantasy set. Dex just said that the Farm Fantasy set's one of their favorite sets of all time. Really, really, really love the Farm Fantasy set. As a Universes Beyond, it's super good. Right up there with Lord of the Rings. Probably my 2 favorites. And Sleepy, no, I can see both. I absolutely love Kefka, Earlmaid. I have yet to build a good deck around it. I pulled the expensive Kefka printing. So I've been meaning to build a deck around it. You have a Gargos Hydra Tribal that plays above bracket 3, below bracket 4. Any idea what you're doing wrong? Without looking at the deck, no. But I would say that Gargos is probably not above bracket 3. Are you winning before turn 7? That's probably not likely. Nickel and Rucker. I think Kefka is very strong. Oh, okay, we're at the Celeste Runite chat. Okay. Any tips for making an earthbending deck? You like Toph Metalbender, but you feel it'd be too top heavy. Deck may depending on Toph too much staying on the board. I actually think I help with a Toph deck. Maybe I'm imagining this. Did I help with a Toph Metalbender deck? Am I imagining this? One moment, please. Pretty sure I worked on a Toph deck. Maybe I can search. 1 second. Man, I'm old age, man. I'm pretty sure I worked on a Toph deck. But I must be imagining it. Any tips on it? I think... Oh, that's what I helped on. I helped on an Ang deck that I included Toph in, and Earthbending was like my major win condition. So I helped someone with an Ang deck, and Earthbending was a big win condition. So, Peter, I think I would say for Earthbending, there's actually, if you go and look, there's a bunch of CDH decks that have been built for Toph. Depending what bracket you want to play it in. I can't remember maybe it was the Spike Feeders. Maybe it was Play to Win. One of those YouTube channels, Spike Feeders or Play to Win, did an episode and had Toph as a CDH deck. I would say go and look at that deck because it'll obviously be much lower to the ground if it's going to compete in CDH. That will probably help you understand where you can drop the value of the mana cost of your deck. But just be careful depending what bracket you're playing because you might overpower your deck. Toph CDH. Probably...
One of the cool new legends from Avatar.
You could probably look at this video. So Comedian's video, he'll probably talk about it in some detail. But let's go, if I look at videos. Is it this? Might have been this.
We'd like to thank our sponsor.
Was that the comedian? Yeah, it was. Same guy. Okay, this is what I was thinking of. Go and look at this video. Peter, if you're still here. I'll put it in chat. That'll give you the answer for your top deck, I think. Just be obviously aware that you might overpower your deck. It's so funny catching up the chat and having everyone trying to help me find Celeste, and I'm just like fucking around, not achieving anything. Yeah, Dex, I know. This is what I want these streams to be. Like, if I don't work... Sorry if it's clickbait. If I don't even get to working on the Kratos deck, that's absolutely fine, because this is what I want these streams to be. Just chatting with people, answering questions, having people pull me in different directions. Because I think that's what's going to give you the most value out of this. And I have so much thoughts I can share on things, but unless I have like, if people ask me questions in my Discord, often it's just so much to scroll through that it makes it hard. So I'm glad, Dex, that you're enjoying the stream. Mahera, you're behind on the stream. I am behind on chat. Stormy Sunshine. How would I build Satya? That's not how you spell Satya, is it? Terrible. How would I build Satya Aetherflux Genius? So... Satya Aetherflux Genius, when it attacks, create a tap attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-token creature you control. You get energy. Think of an next end step, sacrifice a token unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So, with a commander like Satya, I imagine EDH Rec is already going to be pointing you in this direction. But for when I think Satya, I think of creatures that are going to give us value on entering the battlefield. So for example, Meldrifter, Itali. So, you know, this similar to the deck I talked about earlier with the myriad triggers. Yeah, if you play an Itali, you make a token of it. You don't care whether it sticks around. The energy doesn't really matter. Obviously, you can keep stuff around, but yeah, I think if we scroll through here and I go and look at top cards, it's probably going to be stuff like, and there's lots of energy here, but the energy theme to me doesn't even matter. I would just be having lots of ETB creatures. So things like Itali. Yeah. Terror of the Peaks is a good one. Just creatures that enter the battlefield. That would be my thing. Because then you get value without the creature having to stick around. I don't even think the deck has to be energy based. That'll give you way more flexibility to build a cool, interesting deck if it's not defaulting to energy. Because once you start playing around energy, you lock yourself into all the energy cards, and then your deck's going to look like every other energy deck. How do you counter your friend's graveyard blitz deck, Octa? Kill him. Just kill him. Not. Please don't kill your friend. Just to be clear, legal ramifications involved. Don't kill your friend. But yeah. It depends on what your friend's deck is doing. Graveyard Blitz is the counters one, right? I assume this is the Graveyard Commander. Depends what deck you are playing, but bounce their creatures. Evacuation is your friend. So hit him with one of these bad boys. Or hit him with a Psych Rift. I'm going to refill my water quick. And then Banana Wrapper, I'm going to answer your question about Breya. Be right back for 30 seconds. Okay. Banana Wrapper. What are my thoughts on more toolbox commanders like Breya, Ethereum, Shaper versus more straightforward linear commanders that have clearer build paths? I think the more you are an experienced Magic player, the more you can play commanders that don't give you direction and have a good time. I think toolbox commanders like Breya are way better on average at lower powers, bracket 2 and bracket 3, because I think the moment you get to bracket 4, you have to have a linear game path because you have to try and win the game by turn 4 or 5, and that you don't have the time in the game to make a toolbox deck effective. Toolbox decks often excel from being grindy and creating value over time. And obviously the higher your bracket, the less time you have. So I think Breya really like her in low powers. Now she can also be built at super high power, but then you're building a very linear game plan with Breya where you go infinite and stuff like that. Nickel and Rucker. Have I tried Selesnya Enchantress with spicy anti-graveyard tech? Rest in peace. No. So Vondam is cool. Cool as heck. Goku Dragonheart, hello. Belated hello. Yeah, Dex, I think the guide will be cool. Like, I really want it to be useful for people. I basically want them to be able to work through the guide as they work through building their deck. It's all around getting people to ask the right questions when they're building. It's going well, Goku. I hope you are well, if you're still here. 16 minutes later. Hey, Clancy. So, Lucy, and also Goosey, firstly, I like your name. You're having a similar issue with Edgar Markov. You want a list to refine with the resources already entry level. I think part of the problem is that Edgar Markov is a very linear commander. Like, he wants to do one thing and one thing only, really. Hard to build an Edgar Markov list that isn't make token, sacrifice token, drain people of life. Brave Bird, you are no longer here. But to everyone else, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Do I have any thoughts on closed formats like pre-modern or pre-DH? Having played for a long time, having me build pre-DH decks would be pretty cool. So Meister Kai, you might have seen me talking about Pauper recently. Pre-modern is basically a set built for me because I started playing Magic and played a long time ago, and I really started playing Magic a lot when Invasion set was around, and that is peak pre-modern. All the cards that I played in pre-modern were played when I was a kid, so I absolutely love the idea of it. I think it can be pretty expensive unless you have a budget deck, like you can play Blue-Green Madness, but I really like the formats. I think it's tricky because like not that many people play them, and therefore it's harder to get games. Similar thing for pre-DH. I think a lot of people play pre-DH because they don't like the commander cards that have warped the format into what it is now, and they want old school vibes. I think both pre-modern and pre-DH are basically, I say this with love, boomer formats. They are fantastic nostalgia for the people that played the game then and want the game to be what they enjoyed. But I think for a modern player, I don't know whether they're better. They're just different. And I don't think they're any... Like, I wouldn't recommend people play them if they already enjoy playing the existing games. I'd rather suggest to a normal player to go play Pauper if they want to play a 60-card format. Way cheaper, way more accessible, and just as fun. Because they don't get that nostalgia thing that I would get from it. And it's the same with pre-DH, I think. Steve9303 is Tablet of Discovery. Let's get that on screen. This is the Strixhaven one, right? That just came out. Add red. Is Tablet of Discovery an add-in to Rakdos Spellslinger decks? You're building Kuja and you love the sound of including the card. Yeah, I mean, Kuja, absolute banger commander, firstly. If you're ramping, yes. Like, it really depends on whether your deck wants to ramp. But if you... Like, the problem is that Kuja is a 4-mana commander, right? So... You can't ramp it, like... It depends what the... Sorry, let me get my thoughts into order. I'm going to make a video on ramp again soon, because it's one of those topics that people just don't necessarily understand. Ramp is arguably part of the things that made me want to build a proper whole deck building guide, but when you are adding ramp to your deck, the first question you should ask yourself is, does my deck want ramp? Yes or no? And to answer that question, you need to know, what is your deck ramping towards? Why do you need ramp? You might need ramp to get Kuja out on turn 3, so that you can get your game plan more accelerated more quickly. In that world, what value does a 3-mana rock have in your deck? Well, it has value if you're ramping into big spells that you want to cast later in the game. Because ideally you want to go turn 1 something, maybe a tap land, turn 2 mana rock, turn 3 Kuja. The 3-cost mana rock adds no purpose in that. So maybe you want to play it on turn 4 and then power out bigger spells. Kuja incentivizes you to play small non-creature spells so that you can play many of them to be able to get your wizards more quickly so that you can flip him. And then whenever a wizard deals damage, it deals double that damage. So I would say in Kuja specifically, I don't know if I would add that card because I'm not planning to play big spells. And you could probably cast small cantrips to trigger Kuja fast enough. So in that instance, I probably think ramp, yes. 2 mana ramp specifically. 3 mana ramp, not so much. But if you like the card and it makes sense for the way you want to play it, by all means add it. I'm not saying don't play the card. It's a very cool card. I played it in my pre-release. I really liked it. Yeah, Dex. I absolutely love Kefko. You started P-Side, you started playing because of Final Fantasy collab. Yeah, so many people play because of the Universes Beyond sets, and I really love that it brings people into the game. You'd like a commander, Meeptim, you'd like a commander deck that pings your opponents over and over again. Kuja's a pretty good example of a deck that pings people. Yeah. Octa being like, Kuja! Having played against Gargas, you can say... yeah, fair enough. I haven't played against Gargas that much. Like once or twice. Oh yeah, Dex. And public service announcement for anybody else. Don't try and use Moxfield, EDH Rec, all these sites on mobile. It fucking sucks. Not because of the sites, but because you are looking at many cards or lots of information, and that's hard to do on mobile at the best of times. Yeah, Devin, great shout out on some of those cards. Industrial Advancement's a banger. Ogta, could I tell you why your lateral deck sucks? You're going for tokens and Voltron. Could you instead just focus on one of those? I mean, I'm gonna bring up Lateral. If I look at Lateral, I don't think you should worry about Voltron with Lateral. I think it's a trap. I think the real power in Lateral is to make it the L's and then just drain the table. Especially if you have some way of untapping your creatures. Like, you could buff Lateral, but like I think that if you can do, if you can get some buffs to Lateral, whether it's, you can get stuff like this. Here, 1 second. The boar. One moment, please. It's Umbra. It's an Umbra, but it's not the boar Umbra. Umbra. I just looked at this for a deck, to be honest. Yeah, so like, if you have an Umbra on it, like Bear Umbra, that gives it totem armor, give it some power and toughness, and whenever it attacks, you untap all lands you control. Stuff like that. I think I care more about Lateral getting pumped in the short term. But like, I'd rather have a giant growth on Lateral and pay 1 mana for 3 L's than put equipment on her or put other enchantments on her that are good over time, but the value to cost ratio is lower in the immediate time. Because I think once you make 10 L's, you should be able to win the game over 2 or 3 turns if you're untapping stuff. Hey, Volgo. Clancy, there's questions, man. That's how I got so far behind chat. Ogta, Henzy's okay. I think one just has to play strong decks into Henzy, for sure. Question about Marquesa the Black Rose in bracket 4. I'm not going to pronounce your name because I don't know. Is it Hunt Alvarez? I don't know. So I'm going to mess that up, but I'm going to go Marquesa. So, yeah, pretty much. So, I saw a comment yesterday where someone was talking about bracket 4. And they were implying that my experience in bracket 4 was wrong. my suggestions about bracket 4 were wrong, especially in terms of how fast the games end. And they were saying like, yeah, combos aren't that prevalent in bracket 4, which I try and always be nice in my responses to people, but my natural response is, what the fuck do you mean combos aren't prevalent in bracket 4? Combos are the only way you win in bracket 4. If you have a combat win condition in bracket 4, it's typically because you have comboed to cheat a large amount of creatures into play with haste or something. Like, it's very rare that a bread and butter combat deck can compete in bracket 4. So yeah, I would say in Marquesa, you're typically winning off of sacrifice loops with your creatures and taking advantage of ETBs and things like that. But it's going to be combo wins for sure. Hey, Phoenix. Charge Strike, hello. Sorry for the late hello. Catching up in chat. Dex, Pauper sounds just right for you. Does the underscore 498? Does the frog have any opinions on building a cube? Yeah, cube is incredibly based. I have been meaning to get into building a cube of my own. I think cube is some of the most authentic Magic you can play because it combines mechanics of something like draft. Can combine the mechanics of something like draft. Or even just using the idea of cube in 4 different decks or 2 different, playing a bunch of decks together. But yeah, I love cube. I think it's really good. I think obviously it requires some knowledge to build a cube. So like, you can't, a new player building a cube I think is a bit daunting, but for an experienced player, I think it's one of the best things you can do. Because you're controlling the experience, which I think matters a lot. What so many formats get wrong. What is a safe range of draw cards in bracket 3 if you don't play tutors? When you say safe range, mindless, do you mean how many? If your deck wants to draw cards, you probably want like 11 to 12 sources of card draw at least. Lat MTG. What is my favorite Strixhaven Dragon? Did this last video. I think I ranked them in terms of how strong I thought they would be, how much I liked them. But Strixhaven Dragons in order, I think a Silver Quill is probably the strongest, I think. Then Witherbloom, then Prismari, then Lorehold, then Quandrix. I like Witherbloom the most. But in terms of the strength of them and how good they are, I think it's probably like that. Gearsenstorm is a broken pin commander. Michael, you get bored of your decks easily and end up taking them apart. Do you think the reason is that they do the same thing or just do nothing? Other ways to make them more enjoyable? Yeah, I mean, I think that's an internal problem that we all Magic players have, is novelty and getting used to a deck and then getting bored of it. I think you really have to find the type of deck that you really just love playing. That's what I would say. It's hard. If you're a crow that gets attracted by shiny things like I am, I have the same problem. I would caution a deck that, like, I think the default answer a lot of people have towards that is, well, build a deck that can win in 15 ways. And it's like, well, yeah, but then you have a deck that's not going to do the same thing every game and that's probably going to do everything badly every game. Other than like the secret lair deck that has the win the game cards and every game is a bit different in terms of how you win the game. Maybe that could be your deck, your forever deck. But I think finding types of decks and commanders that you just really enjoy and don't get bored of. Like, I really struggle to get bored of my Marin deck. I really struggle to get bored of my Sauron deck, even if I play them a bunch. I think the biggest advice I can give you, Michael, is play some other formats. Do some draft, do some limited, play some pauper, because then you're going to spend time playing other formats that you enjoy. And when you come back to Commander, don't just play Commander all day, every day, because you're naturally going to get bored. It's the same with everything. You're going to enjoy those experiences so much more. It's true for everything. Like, unless you're a horribly neurodivergent and you enjoy eating the same thing every day until you hate it, like I do. If you eat different foods, you're going to enjoy them more. Literally everything in life gets boring after a while. Even things like sex get boring if you're doing it every day, all day. You need a break. You need to do something else. So, come on, it next to the same. Hey, Lucas. You might have probably already dropped, but thank you. Nice of you to drop in. I'm glad you like the Aragorn deck. I struggle to pronounce this name, but Chuavid, J Chuavid. Tips on Barbara Saga. You've been tinkering with the token sub theme with ways to pump them as an optional finisher to get the finish line after draining. I have a Barbara Saga deck on my channel, so I would recommend you go watch my video. It's a budget Barbara list, but that gives my thoughts on Barbara. Lots of draining themes for me with Barbara. Timewinder, you have a bracket 4 Marquesa deck and it plays hybrid aggro control. Yeah, Marquesa is cool. Your brain, biologist, your brain can't comprehend win cons in bracket 2. You don't know how to win if not to go infinite. If not going infinite. Sorry, my brain is struggling. Yeah, I mean, just think about incremental win cons. And maybe bracket 2 is not for you. GameCube Slayer, you're looking forward to building Silver Quill. Cardion, Nero of Heart of the Storm, and Galazith Prismari. Any cards those you'd recommend? Not so much on Nerev because I haven't built it. For Galazeth, I'm going to do the same thing. The video quality is probably bad, but go and watch my Galazeth video. Go and watch my Galazeth video. It was one of the first videos I made on YouTube. There are some really great recent additions to Galazeth. Like from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TNMT MTG set. There is it April O'Neil, I think, is the card. There is a card that TNMT April. This one? Yeah, whenever a player plays an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, you create a Mujadin token. This, with Galazeth Prismari, is absolutely just broken. It's broken. It's broken. That's a wild card to add. Then the Mechanist from Avatar. This dude. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a clue token. Broken with Galazeth Prismari. The card draw spell from Avatar. It's Spirit Water Revival, I think I want to say is the name. Hello, Spirit Water Revival, where are you? Here somewhere, there you go. This card, absolutely incredible with Galazeth Prismari, because you're pretty much always going to use it as draw 7. 3 mana draw 7. Broken with Galazeth Prismari. And then in the new set, in Strixhaven, there is an absolutely broken artifact. One moment. It's a Prismari or an Izzet artifact. Where are you? Somewhere. The Resonating Lute. Lands you control have add 2 mana of any one color, spend this mana only to cast instant and sorcery spells, tap it to draw a card. That's going to be broken in Galazeth Prismari, because of course it's a mana rock by itself, but also it makes all your lands make more mana for your instants and sorceries. So go and watch my video, take some of that advice, and I think you'll have a great time. Meeptim, what are my thoughts on Scriv the Obligator? Scriv. Cool art. Flying Death Touch. Whenever Scriv enters or attacks, create an aura enchantment token named Contract attached to target creature and opponent controls. When this creature Whenever it attacks, it gets +2/+0 if it's attacking one of your opponents. Otherwise, I think it's fine. It's a cool bracket 2 commander, but I don't think it's particularly strong because you're going to get 1 trigger per turn. And the payoff is kind of meager. It gets bigger or the opponent loses life. Like, I'd much rather have Bria? Is it Bria? No, not Bria. Termina? No. There is an, hold on, let me find it. EDH Rec, save me. It's a cool card. It's not saying don't play it, but I'd much rather have... Yeah, Brina. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has life has the most life, attacking player draws a card and you put 2/1 counters on a creature you control. Like, that's a way bigger payoff. Because the incentive is higher. Losing 2 life is pretty low in Commander, right? Someone can attack you 10 times and not care. Bellinier should make a frog only cube. Yeah, not a bad suggestion. Is there a budgetless version of the Vincent deck? Grandpa Senga. No, there's not. Because really, I mentioned this in the video, but like, there aren't that many great additions. Like, yes, there are some now. You could add in some better protection, some fast mana, stuff like that. But not really. The cards that the deck wants are mostly cheap. So other than some solid staples like solid cheap protection and fast mana, 90% of the deck will remain the same. What I liked about it. Dex, I'm fully endorsing you buying cards for your wife. Big fan. Meister Kai. Yeah, I know. I should build an invasion block cube. You're not wrong. Red Jung for bracket 3. Would you suggest I should be focused on a Bletch deck? I feel like you have too many options. What would I suggest you be focused on? Bletch. We're only 7 minutes behind chat now. Huge. We're making progress. Firstly, did my music just end? I think it did. One moment, please. You can probably, I don't even know if you can hear the music, but there is music in the background. What would I suggest you should be focused on for Bletch? Maybe you gain life. I mean, I think I would say you want lots of life. So with Bletch, I would say, I assume it's Bletch. If I think of the sort of the 5 to 6 buckets that I would want, I would probably want cards that sacrifice creatures to draw cards. So it's a card draw, but I think card draw that sacrifices creatures is going to be really, really useful for you. Things like Braids, things like Village Rivalry, Village Rights and Braids. You know, there's tons of those Village Rights types of cards. Eviscerator's Insight, I think, is one. You could Scryfall that ability, draw 2 cards in Golgari, and like if I just do it now, right? Like if I go to Golgari and Scryfall, and I type in sort by mana value, Village Rights, Altar's Reap, Costly Plunder, Deadly Dispute, Eviscerator's Insight, Fanatical Offering. These are all going to be great in your deck as your card draw engine. You want lots of things to give you life whenever a creature enters. The stuff like Bogwater Lumerette, stuff like your Essence Warden effects, really important. And then I would say you want some removal, but then just fill the deck with synergistic bats, insects, snakes, and spiders. You've got such a wide thing there that I just think, like, think of your deck in buckets. Like, you're probably playing aggressive, so you probably want ways to give your creatures trample in some way. You want card draw, you want some spot removal to deal with issues, and then you just want your creature base. And you want it to be and life gain triggers, obviously, and then you got your creature base. So it's like 5 things. Unfortunately, you can you can get the best of bats, insects, snakes, and spiders. So I would just think of it that way. Hopefully that helps. Thanks, 498. I imagine you're gone already, but thanks for hanging out. What direction would I take Sauron if I had no budget limit and all I was aiming for was the top of bracket 3? I think like... if I was trying to get the most out of Sauron, I think there's probably a reanimator version of this deck that is probably the highest power. Because I think that'll give you very explosive. Like if you've got stuff like Valgavath, if you do a turn 1 mill, like you play Stitcher's Supplier and then into a reanimate on turn 2 or even turn 1, that's way more powerful than what I'm doing. And then if you can get to Sauron's wheel ability and you start wheeling stuff into your graveyard and then you play a bigger reanimate spell, yeah, I think reanimator, some kind of reanimator is probably the most powerful you can build him. Crazy Dragon, you have a mill deck that likes mill the 10 different ways. Yeah, fair enough. Hey, Elam. Absolute pleasure with the Galactic. I hope it goes well. I look forward to your feedback on the deck. Prodigy, big fan of being proxy friendly. Hey, Avexia, I appreciate your kind words. I don't know whether you're still here, but I appreciate it a lot. Michael, you want to transition your Daryl deck into an Alien Joel deck. Focus on Goad. Let's have a look. Which Ellie is it? Oh, Brickmaster, sorry. Never play attacks when your opponents attacking your opponent, and then Joel. Whenever a creature token dies, put 1 more counter on Joel and draw a card. Seems good. I mean, honestly, it's a similar kind of advice I gave to the black deck, but like, you clearly have token synergies here, so you have some card draw in the command zone already. I would think of like a deck that wants to use your tokens as fuel, as an engine, is probably the thing I would say. Or use the tokens as engine. All right, let me go back to Ellie. Yeah, it's pretty broad. But I would say for me that the spirit of this deck would be maximizing on the tokens in any way, especially if you create them, other than just Joel's trigger, and sacrificing tokens to draw cards and things like that is probably a big way I'd think about it. But that I'd have to actually put some thought into that to make it unique. Probably more thought that I can put into now while I'm trying to catch up with chat. Kalalamat. You have a problem with your Prosper deck. You think it's in bracket 3 tier hell. You think it's in bracket 3 tier hell. Verify to try and make it stronger. It just becomes a combo deck without being true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the problem with a commander like Prosper, right? I mean, what do you just want to cast spells from exile? What do you want to cast from exile? I think with Prosper, I'm just going to put Prosper on screen in case anybody doesn't know it. Prosper. I think if you want to make it stronger, yeah, I think it's the problem with bracket 4 is that you don't have room. You have to play to the most powerful outcome, and that will just be combos and lose identity. So you probably want to keep it in bracket 3. If you're trying to make it stronger within bracket 3, The problem is that Prosper's whole kit encourages you to play lots of spells from exile because of the treasure creation, and that just encourages like a storm and or small spell payoff. So I think it's really hard to make Prosper be good without being broken and being a combo commander. Like, I wish I had a better answer for you, Matt, but I think Prosper is one of those commanders where, like, it's a bit like Joda. Like, when I was newer to Commander, I was like, I want to make a fun Joda deck. A Joda deck that's not just that Joda deck. And of course, no matter what I did, it was that Joda deck. And I feel like Prosper is the same. You gotta go brrr. And if you don't, it's just not going to be strong. I feel like Essence Warden is bait time winder. No, I think Essence Warden is strong. Strong. Especially if you're creating tokens. And I think there's probably a lot of tokens that you can create in that pairing. Ooh, that's cool, Smurf. I like Amaranth Illustrious. Jackie Moose, do I draw my video assets? No, I don't. I'll show you what I do, though. You want some behind the scenes insight? This is not magic related. It's very much how I do things related, but I'll show you if you're interested. So this is the videos, basically. You'll see the frames that you would have seen in the video. And each frame is basically, if I go to layer, if you see on the left, layers of tons of stuff. So I've taken stuff and kind of built it into a scene. So like, it's not that complicated. Like, a scene like this is the same scene. I've just put something in front of it. But yeah, it's just a whole bunch of stuff glued together. And then there is an artist, a Japanese artist called... They're like a business now. But they do like these graphics. It's kind of their thing. See, they even got One Piece graphics. But their art is baked into Canva, which I use. So I use all their art because I'm allowed to use it because it's baked in. They pay for Canva. So there you go. Smurf, is there a specific way to filter for artifact creatures on EDH Rec? I don't know. You can go by color, go by colorless, and you can look at creatures. That's mostly going to be artifact creatures. Guess you could do that. But I'd probably do that in Scryfall. So I would go to Scryfall and I'd go, choose a type, artifact, colorless. And then you can add more criteria, right? But 2,318 artifact, it's not artifact creatures, is creature. $672. Prodigy, who knows? I might do it. Garth Rayleigh, hello. Garth Rayleigh, I didn't mention Terra in my 2025 Commander deck recommendations. I assume you mean this Terra. Hello? I assume you mean this Terra, right? The pre-com one. The beginning of combat in your turn, mill 2 cards. She gains flying. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. Then you may return a creature with 3 mana cost less from the graveyard to the battlefield. I think she's really good. She's just not... So when I made that video, it was kind of like a story of my year in Magic, if that makes sense. It was talking about decks that I reviewed, decks that I really liked, decks that I played, videos that I made. And whilst I ranked Terra pretty highly in my Final Fantasy video, so I don't know if you saw that. I ranked every single Final Fantasy commander. I ranked her pretty highly. I think she's really cool. But I didn't build her personally this year. That's why I didn't talk about it in that video. But she's really cool. I'd probably be more likely to build Celeste if I was forced to build one of these types of Final Fantasy graveyard commanders, especially in this color pairing. Decks, yeah, if you're going to do proxies, I have used NPC fill in the past, and they have done a good job for me when I've built proxies to playtest and things like that. So I can recommend NPC fill. They are good. Obviously, be sure you're making sure the card backs don't look like magic cards and things like that, because NPC's quality can be pretty good. It borders on counterfeit. You got to be careful with that. Good to know you're still here, Vexia. Nice for you guys to hang out. I mean, again, I haven't even got into Kratos, but this is probably of more value to everyone, so. Minus, don't worry, these questions are of value. I'm only 6 minutes behind now, almost there. Nixilis, I don't know, let's have a look at Nixilis. Oh, Nixilis, yeah, pretty much. J Sims. Hey Frog, I'm currently building tough, hard-headed teacher. The goal is a spell slinging aristocrat style landfall deck. You're having trouble with the right balance though. Any quick tips? So I'm gonna go back here. I built this Ang list for someone. Well, I helped them with it. So tough, hard-headed teacher says, when tough enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast a spell, Earthbend 1. If that spell is a lesson, put an additional 1/1 counter on that land. So I think the tricky thing about this is that tough. I really like the recursion ability of tough, but in the command zone, it's kind of weak because whenever you cast a spell, you Earthbend 1. You're really incentivized to play a lot of spells. That's one I'd actually have to. I would actually have to think about, J Sims. Off the top of my head, like I'm probably gonna go in the same direction where you are right now, but you want a lot of cantrips and a lot of ways to play spells. That could be things like Cascade. But really you want a lot of cantrips to be able to Earthbend. Yeah, because so all the power in this commander is baked into the Earthbend, right? Like, if it was me, I'd be going, okay, well, I want a lot of Earthbend lands. So I want to get a lot of lands into play, which can have some landfall triggers. But then I'd be looking for something like, you know, buffing all your lands. Whether it's something like Boomy Unleashed that gives you extra combats, or Boomy Eclectic Earthbender. Whenever it attacks, you put counters on your land creatures. But like, or a simple spell like Overrun, right? +3/+3 and Trample. I'd be wanted to make as many of my lands creatures, like get 10 to 15 of them as fast as I can, and then just play Overrun and just try and end the game. Probably what I would do off the top of my head, but I'd have to spend some more time with it. How many themes should be in my deck to make something functional and consistent in bracket 3? How many cards should make it up an individual theme? Well, there is this handy thing over here. So, by the way, this is an example. When I do a deck review for someone, I make a document like this. So I walk through final thoughts, playing the deck, give some thoughts on the individual combinations of cards. I go through individual thoughts on cards that I've added to the deck. But a part of it is this thing, which you've probably seen me show before. I show like the commander as if it was a character, like a D&D character or something. There's a whole video on this, by the way, on my channel. But typically 5 to 6 things is probably how many things you could add to your deck, functional things. Obviously, if cards perform multiple duties, even better. But yeah, 5 to 6 things is probably the safe spot. Obviously, if you're building like a combo deck and you have small buckets of cards and maybe 7 to 8, but really 6 is probably the sweet spot. And then the math of how the kind of commander math is that if you want a card in your opening hand, like a ramp spell or a card draw spell or a removal spell, you need to have at least like 11 of them in your deck. That's where the 6 thing comes from, right? Because most decks are probably going to have about 38 lands. So that gives us about 62 cards left. It's about 10 to 11 times 6. So if you want a card by around turn 5, you probably want like 7 to 9. And if you want a card by the end of the game, in bracket 3, you probably want about 6 of them. That should give you an indication of how many cards you need and how many buckets of cards you need. Hey, Tony's Pizza. Magic stuff indeed. I hope that helped. Lucas. Or Luca. World of the Line, I assume you mean my MS Paint skills in Canva. Yeah, Matt. Just think about where you want to play your deck and then build it backwards. Irasatoya, Tommy is really good stuff, I agree. Yeah, Lucas, Canva's really great. It's a good tool. I highly recommend it. I'm a big fan of this. It's allowed me to make my videos that I probably would have really struggled to otherwise. Matt asks, read your video of building backwards. Where do you normally find your inspiration for said idea? Do you find a couple of cards, find a theme or a mechanic or thoughts? I mean, it depends how experienced the Magic player you are. Like, I will look at a commander and think about what I might want to do with it. Often I will go and look at other decks that have been built if I'm stuck. I don't think there's any harm in that, just with the knowledge that I probably don't want to build that deck. So I want to come up with my own ideas. But like, I'll give you an example, right? So recently I worked on my Zuladoc list. So I upgraded my Zuladoc list to bracket 4. And in this list, it was a bracket 3 deck, heavily focused around Eldrazi. But what I found was when it popped off really hard and people would be sad. And it wasn't doing anything outrageous for bracket 3. I was doing things on bracket 3 terms and timelines, but I just don't like Annihilator. So like, I wanted to make it bracket 4 because my playgroup was like, let's play some bracket 4. And it was way too slow for bracket 4. So I wanted to look into what kind of things can I do. But combos in this kind of deck are incredibly complicated. Like, for example, if I have... Where's Basalt Monolith? So Basalt Monolith and Rings of Brightheart is an infinite combo. Basically, it allows you to make infinite mana. So Basalt Monolith is add 3 mana, you can pay 3 to untap it. And Rings of Brightheart is pay 2 mana to copy an ability. So basically, if you have enough mana to start this off, I think it's 5 mana, you can just go infinite. Because you make 1 positive. You tap it, you put 2 untapped triggers on the stack, you resolve 1, you tap it again, you untap it again, and you've got spend 5, get 6, basically. That kind of thing, unless you know about it, is really hard. So sometimes a commander is super clear. For example, you know, Witherbloom is super obvious. You want to play a bunch of creatures, you want to play a bunch of massive instants or sorceries. Oh, what massive instants and sorceries can I play that might win the game for me? You can go and look. It's not that complicated. But if it's more complex or a commander is more broad, then I'll go and look at some examples and I'll kind of build backwards. But I want to focus on how am I going to win the game, right? In this case, you know, I have things like Staff of Domination that can make me infinite life, draw my entire deck. And once I've drawn my entire deck, I can destroy everyone's permanents. I can take extra turns. And then I can do things like attack with Eldrazi and use Annihilator triggers, and I'll play like 60 power of creatures. That's how I win, but how I get there is a different way. So it really depends on the deck. Typically, I'll try and find a commander that gives me direction. Like if I was looking at Lease, right? So when I saw Lease Hex for the first time, my brain immediately went to, I looked at Lise and I was like, prowess, that sounds like a Voltron commander. And then I was like, well, prowess and double strike, that to me says Voltron. Like, I want to hit people in the face with this. And then non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast. And I was like, well, that's going to make all my, if I play card draw spells or spells that draw me cards, they're going to be cheaper and I can just cycle, which kind of gave me the idea for the end deck that I created, which was, if you don't know my Lise deck, it's basically Lise, a bunch of ramp to play her early, a lot of protection spells to keep her from dying. Almost every card in the deck draws me cards. And then I have a lot of cards that make her bigger and give her evasion. But the initial idea there was looking at Lise and going, ooh, prowess. Ooh, double strike. It's like that Vince McMahon meme where he falls over backwards on the chair. Like, so I think it's just, you've got to have some experience, but if you don't have the experience, it's going to look at how other decks are winning and then building to that point yourself. Yeah, Roddy. Enjoy my thoughts on Final Fantasy. I only talk about the cards that I thought were B tier or above. So there were some cards that I didn't talk about, but I think it's a good video. What do I do for proxies now? Do I only make real decks? No, I in most of my decks, my land base is proxied. I own one of each of the lands, so I kind of keep myself honest that way. But I build a lot of 3 or 4 color decks, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not spending $500 on a mana base for every deck. It's just, no, it's not worth it. I buy lots of cards. I support wizards in many ways. So I don't feel bad about proxying some lands, but yeah, I think it's different. Like my decks that I play in constructed formats, they're like, if I play modern, I might play modern in the Spotlight series in Brisbane this year. Like, I'm gonna buy the cards. When there's a set I like, I buy packs. But yeah, proxies are fine. Don't think there's any shame on people using proxies. The more people that play this game, the better. And if some of them play with proxies, that's fine. Thoughts on a lore win with Terra Hell of Hope? Lore is not my strong suit. I'm very much a mechanical guy, especially with Final Fantasy. I didn't play those games. I played a lot of the formative ones, and I played up until 8, and then I played them very patchily since there. Yeah, fuck, Kratos is just cooked. Spilled paint pot. Hello. Is it possible to run Stellar Lee in bracket 3? She seems way too hard to power down. Yeah, I think it's super possible. Just don't run infinite combos. Like, don't forget Stellar Lee was originally a precon, and a pretty bad precon. So much so that most people would swap her to play Eris as the commander. So I think it's highly possible to play. It's highly possible to play Stella as a bracket 3 commander. You're just probably not gonna run her as an infinites commander. So that would be my advice, specifically for that, right? Yeah, quick advice, but yeah, Elam, I'm glad you like it. Like, I think that there's a reason why. So I've actually changed this recently. You are probably one of the last ones that I'm doing, or you're definitely one of the last ones I'm doing. I'm busy reworking my Patreon entirely, but I'm also reworking what I offer my time for. So I used to offer 2 tiers, so I'll load this up just to give context. But that's the wrong one. 1 second. So, I used to offer 2 things. I used to offer a $100 commander review and a full deck build from scratch or commander review. And I've changed this because the $100 ones were taking almost as much time as the full deck builds. And I put a lot of time in, like you saw the document. So instead, I'm going to do sessions where I have one-on-one time for like an hour, hour and a half, and I talk through someone's deck with them, and I give them my thoughts, and I work through it. But making the document and making the full deck to a quality level that I'm happy with was taking me... You know, when I do one of these, it takes me like 8 to 12 hours, probably. It's a lot of time. It's just like less than minimum wage. So I'm not doing the cheaper ones anymore. They're just changing to a session because it's not manageable. But yeah, the document for me is important because I want to make sure someone understands my thought process. I think it's as important as the actual deck they get. Decks, I didn't see this before I showed that, but yes, it's done through coffee. I might make my own website soon and run everything through the website. Because I have grand frog-like ambitions. I love products, and I want to start tinkering with creating products. I have an idea for a TCG backpack, and maybe even things like sleeves and deck boxes and stuff like that. But like I can't have too much creativity. Whereas with the backpack, I can actually think about the way it functionally works and issues I've had with backpacks in the past that I maybe want to fix. So I think my website will become a hub for all of that, but I need to build it first. Yeah, Matt, I've been an on and off player for the last 30 years, so I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, Jadzi, original Strix 7, Grolmark. It did the thing that made people sad. Yeah, I mean... I think I've found that, like, that's what I'm actually enjoying. I'm really enjoying a lot about Bracket 4 at the moment, is there's just no sadness, because someone's going to commit crimes by turn 5. If it's not you, it's someone else. And even if they do, even if someone shuts the entire game down and no one can tap a land, it doesn't matter. The game's going to be over in 2 turns anyway. It's fine. Like, so I actually really enjoy Bracket 4. Praetor of Rome. How do you make a deck that's not only fun to play, but also fun to play against? I think I've got 2 or 3 videos. If you go look at the biggest videos on my channel, I think I give some thoughts there. Also, I just want to say, I very much approve of the Ken profile picture. I'm also a huge Ryan Gosling fan. Shout out to my boy Rocky and Project Hail Mary. My favorite movie of the year. Probably my favorite movie in years, to be honest. We all need some positivity right now. But so I think that it depends what bracket you're playing in. At low powers, I think not impacting other people's game plans too heavily until you win the game is like the secret sauce for a good deck. And just playing within what the brackets ask you to do. Because people come to a bracket with a certain type of experience, and I think I said this in my most recent video, but like in bracket 2, I would suggest playing... Don't completely ruin people's play experience. They want to play the game, so play a deck that allows you to play the game, while also allowing you to play your own game. Obviously, you want some spot removal and stuff, that's fine. But in bracket 3, you can do a bit more of that, where you can shut down the game a bit more, because if you're shutting down the game in turn 5 or 6, it's going to be over in 2 turns anyway, that's fine. And in bracket 4, do whatever you want, be as toxic as you like, but save the super controlling, super toxic, super powerful stuff for bracket 4, and then if that means you don't like playing bracket 2 or 3, that's fine. Because it means that you'll opt into an experience of people that want the same thing you want in bracket 4. Fun is unfortunately subjective, so it comes down to finding your people as well. The big thing I often recommend is, this is going to sound a bit harsh, but only sit down to a game of Commander with people that you think you'd probably want to sit down and just talk to for 2 hours. Because if you would have fun with that, you'd have fun in the game of Commander, but if you're playing with people that you wouldn't spend time with anyway, just to get a game of Commander in, that's how you don't have fun. Stirring Hope Singer seems like a good addition to Lice Hext. Grandpa Senga, you are putting yourself in a dangerous spot. Because I might have to say no. Stirring Hope Singer. When as Flying Lifelink, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell targets a creature, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That is pretty good. My only downside that I will offer you, and why I probably wouldn't add this to the deck, and this is probably the number one thing that happens to every single card someone suggests, is this doesn't draw me a card, and the Least deck is so reliant on keeping my hand full and continually drawing into protection. If I have a starting hand with 3 lands, a source of ramp, this, a card draw source, and say a pump source or an evasion source, don't draw into protection, this is useless to me. So it's very good, but the deck is on a knife's edge when it comes to card draw and protection, but it doesn't give me much space for stuff like this. It's a great card and a great suggestion. The Inkling one less so, because I don't really care about the blockers, because at least can get lifelink and vigilance. Bellinia, thoughts on commanders that pass themselves around? Yeah, good. With context, like, don't play Alexios in a bracket 2 environment, but good. I'm giving short answers because I'm trying to catch up with chat, just so you're aware. How do I combat that feeling when your deck does the thing so consistently that you end up taking it apart, yet how good deck you loved? Or is it the same thing? Badgers. I think I said this earlier, but like, if you have a deck that you love, just don't play it all the time. Play other decks and play other formats so that when you sit down to play the deck that you love, you haven't played it every single game for the last week and month. What is the word I'm looking for? The phrase is, it's not distance. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Absence. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Which basically means that when something is not in front of you, or when something is away for an extended period of time, like my lovely wife, who has currently been away for 5 weeks and returns at the end of next week, when she gets back, I will be so much happier to see her than when she left, because not seeing someone for 5 weeks makes you really appreciate how much you appreciate them. And the same will be true for your commander deck. So I would just say don't play it all the time, and then don't take it apart. Keep it together and play it a little bit less. And you will like it whenever you play it. Oh, we actually caught up. We caught up. This is a miracle. Matt, you do electromechanical design. So if you need any prototype things in that space, don't be afraid to reach out. Matt, could you send me a DM on Discord or just at me in my server? I will almost certainly take you up on that. I need to look up what electromechanical design does. But I have grand designs in my head that I don't know how to bring to fruition. So I might very well take you up on that, and I finally appreciate your offer. Octa, are you building Bird? Probably not right now. I have a lot on my to-do list, but if I get there, I'll mention it at some point. We are enough, exactly. Yeah, we are caught up. We are caught up. Bellinia, we are caught up. We are caught up. Fucking made it. Jesus, it's a miracle. Okay, because I caught up, I'm gonna at least look at the beginnings of Kratos. Kratos. Because I think I've probably got like 20 minutes to a half an hour left in me before I go and have lunch. So, it doesn't matter about general, but you can send me a DM. I'll be online at the top. Just send me a DM and I'll see it. I don't check DMs all the time, but I'll be expecting to look at this one, so I'll keep an eye out. So let's look at Kratos first. So we looked at Kratos earlier, but Kratos is a 3-mana red God Warrior with double strike, and he gives all creatures haste. And at the beginning of each player's end step, he deals damage to each player equal to the number of creatures that player controls that didn't attack. So really, he just wants to make everyone attack. Now, in looking at this card, for me, I don't care so much about the third line of text because it's fine, but it's not going to make a meaningful... It's just going to accelerate the game, right? People are probably just going to attack. They're probably not going to hold back their creatures. And even if they do, if someone's got 2 or 3 big blockers, they might just hold back their creatures because the deterrence that people won't want to lose their creatures will mean that they don't care about the 2 damage they're going to take. It'd be different if it was like they take damage to the power of the creatures that they kept back. So I think what's in reality, Meeptum, you can find it linked in my YouTube profile, but I will do you a solid and link it for you. I need to have a command like Discord exclamation mark. Do we have one actually? Discord. Nah. Doesn't work. But there you go. I'll put some commands in chat. Okay. So I think that what I'm immediately thinking is we're going to want cards that accelerate the game. So if I think about, I haven't even looked at the brief yet, right? But if I think about the things that we want to do, and I'm going to do this quick. Let's do this. Now this might change, right? But this might change. Where is he? Kratos, come here. So he has... Need another one of these bad boys. Need another dot. And then he has... what is it called? Damage. So if I think about what he wants as a commander, right? And this is again what I've spoken about, starting with the end in mind, all that stuff. He wants, I would say, game accelerants. Now, what I mean by a game accelerant could be things like players taking extra damage, like Furnace of Wrath. For example, it could be this. Is it Wrath with an RH? Okay, there we go. If a source would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double damage to that creature or player instead. So like this, plus taking extra damage every turn and taking extra combat damage is really good. I would call this an accelerant, right? I would also call Descent into Avernus an accelerant. It's going to make everyone have more mana, which they're probably going to use to play more creatures, and it's going to deal damage to everyone every turn. So I would put this in here as an accelerant. To use the future, yes, it's Kratos time. I have heard my doorbell, so I'm going to be right back 1 second, and then I'll carry on. Okay, we're back. Back for Kratos. Is it Kratos or is it Kratos? Oh, I missed a lawhole question. Dragon, you didn't hear Frog's reaction to lawhole terror? Someone in chat, what do you say? Oh, I love lawhole terror? Is there a lawhole terror? Do you mean this one? Terror Herald of Hope. But this Terra is great. I think I had her at like A tier. Print layer creations. Give me one moment, please. I might be able to help you. We're not gonna get too distracted from Kratos, guys. Don't worry. Kratos is still coming. But... No, not Sauron. Where are my folders? Show me the decks. Ew, did I? Yeah, I did. So here... Oh, 2 reflections, not many paths. That's unfortunate. Riku, 2 reflections. So, not to get too sidetracked, because print layer, Riku is an incredibly broad commander. But I would say what I've said numerous times this stream, which is to think about the end goal of what your deck wants to do. How do you want to win the game? Go and figure out how you want to win the game. And then the rest of the cards should all build to that point, so it'll be much easier. Like, I see Riku as a value engine. You know, it's getting you extra value. So it's getting you extra card draw, extra removal, extra creatures. It's getting you extra value, extra card advantage. But how are you converting all that value into you winning the game? If you don't have a clear direction, you're just going to end up gunking out the board full of stuff. So for example, whenever I see a card that has copying a creature in play, I always think of any creatures with an ETB, with an Enters ability. And when I think that, I immediately think of things like Terror of the Peaks or those kinds of abilities, because that could be a great win con for you, because you copying a creature will get extra damage to shoot at someone's face, and will probably get you whatever ETB it was going to do. So for example, if you get Itali, it's going to shoot damage at someone and it's going to get you card advantage, etc, etc. So I just think of figure out what your win condition is, the hard part, and then the rest of the deck will probably become much more easy to figure out. An ETB is an enters the battlefield ability. So like, if you were to look at a card like Moldrifter, when this creature enters, so anytime a card says enters, that's an enters the battlefield ability. They've just shortened it now. So if you had to play Moldrifter and copy it, you'd get 4 cards, right? If you were to play, I'm going to show Terror of the Peaks. Now, obviously, Moldrifter is part of your card draw. It wouldn't be part of your damage kit. But whenever a creature enters in your control, it deals its damage to any target. So if you played a creature, you can then shoot damage at people. So that could be maybe one of your win cons. But yeah, that's how I think of Riku. Hope that helps. Okay, Kratos. So, game accelerants. Things like, and I might just put this in brackets for myself, things like damage doubler and things like Descent into Avernus. Yeah, I mean, especially because you get the second Terra. So then we are probably going to want to have things that, if we can, force people to create creatures. I don't know if that exists in Red. But if it does, force creature tokens. If we give people creature tokens, that could be a good thing to do. We're going to want protection spells. For sure. We're going to want direct damage of some kind. Whether that is buffs to Kratos, Or... Now, obviously, Kratos has double strike, so we are incentivized to attack with Kratos. And probably have a Voltron strategy. But I haven't read the brief yet, right? So... Varchal's War Riders, let's have a look. You see, now this is what I'm talking about, Time Winder. This is what I'm talking about. Yes, this is perfect. Because we want to fill our opponent's boards with 1/1 count tokens that they're forced to attack with. The only problem is they might be able to attack us. So we might want something like Ensnaring Bridge. Ensnaring Bridge. To stop people from attacking us. But that might stop them from attacking it. I mean, accidental combo, but if we play Kratos and people can't attack, they're going to take damage at the end of each turn from their creatures. So that's pretty cool. But maybe not the right card, but you get the idea of what I mean. Okay. That's my raw thoughts on Kratos, right? What he might want to do. We probably want to make him big. We probably want to punch people in the face. We probably want to force people to attack. Maybe some goad, but I feel like he's already incentivizing goad, so it's probably not worth it. I'm going to explore these different themes, but really we definitely want protection, probably card draw, forced creatures, game accelerants. Gonna figure it out. There's a lot of themes here already. Probably too many themes. I'm gonna have to cut back. Let's look at the brief because that might send me in a direction. So the brief was, and I ask these questions whenever I do a review for someone or I build a deck. These are the questions I mentioned in my last video. What do you not like about your deck? What's wrong with it that's making you request this review? The answer is currently the deck is having a hard time speeding the game as fast as this person wants it to. I want it to be the deck that I use at the end of the night for a last quick game. So this needs to be a fast deck. That's what I envisage. It's fine. Kratos is always going to make it a fast game. What bracket do you want the deck to be? As powerful as bracket 3 or to 4 within restrictions of 1 game changer maximum. No mass land and no infinite combos. This is clearly like home rules or in-house rules. I don't think the deck will be bracket 4. I think this deck will be bracket 3. My gut feel. I don't think bracket 4 is achievable here, to be honest. Especially with the game changer limitation. Game changers aren't going to impact us that much, I don't think, because the game changers in mono red are what? Game changer list. The game changers in red are Jeska's Will, Gamble, and Underworld Breach. And the only one of these that we would probably consider running is Jeska's Will. Colorless. There's a bunch of fast mana, which we could run, but it's fine. Yeah, I mean, the 2 Moxen. And there's the One Ring. But really, game changers aren't going to do much for this deck anyway. It's going to be a little bit like the Vincent deck, where I imagine a lot of the cards I'm going to run here are probably not going to be that expensive. Famous last words. Okay, so we want it to be aggro and Voltron. Okay, so we know this person wants it to be Voltron, so I'm probably going to lean towards the Voltron direction. What do you want your deck to do? What is your game plan? Finish games as fast as possible. Even if I lose, I want the game to be faster. That's a good thing to know here, as this person doesn't care too much about defending. So it could just be one of those kinds of strategies where we just want to cause chaos and just get everyone to attack. We don't care if they're attacking us. We just want them to attack. That is actually quite freeing because it means I don't have to worry so much about this person staying alive, which is obviously a concern, right? If we give everyone's creatures haste and we get them to attack, because they can't attack us. How does the deck win? Currently, it wins via commander damage. Member of the table plays a card that shuts down Kratos being able to enter the battlefield. I lose. I don't know how many cards that would be. Probably just counter spells. So we can think of that, but I don't think there's too many answers to that. What combinations of cards are the most important to achieve that win currently. Kratos and anything that boosts his power and unblockable. Yeah, kind of makes sense. What turn is the ideally win with no disruption? We don't keep up with turns, but I would guess turn 15. Okay, that's very late. We could probably improve on that. Is there any other context that I should have that you want me to know about? I would like to be able to try and keep all the God of War themed secret lair cards. That makes sense because it's a Kratos deck. If it's not possible, it's okay. Since placing this on a break, I've been playing an Is It Burn Spellslinger deck. It's won me many games. Not sure if my natural playstyle is more suited to Spellslinger, but I want to try my best with Kratos. Okay, so let's have a look at the secret lair cards. Kratos secret lair. Yeah, Dex, I hear that about Yuriko. This the one? I guess so. Can I get a Wizards official link, not an eBay link, please? Okay, so we've got Rite of the Flame, which is a ritual, which is fine. Not great, but fine. We've got Pyrohemia at the beginning of the end step, which is at the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, sacrifice this enchantment. This enchantment deals 1 damage to each creature, each player. That's great. That fits in the theme of the deck. We've got World at War. After the second main phase this turn, there is additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. So it's extra combat spell. That's fine for us. And then Sulfuric Vortex, which is perfect in this deck. So I think all of these we can make work, especially in a deck that was going to win faster than turn 15, for sure. So, to again, I think that currently I'm on the fence of Goad, even though I haven't even looked at the deck list, because they're going to take damage if they don't attack anyway. So, like, yes, Goad will protect us, but it's only doing half the job that we could just fog if we have a fog. Obviously, this is mono red, so there's not a lot of fogs. But I think it could be fun that if we try and make everything just more powerful and, like, open ourselves up to damage, I think that could be a fun dynamic in the deck. Kind of what this person seems to be going for. So let's take a look at the deck list. Now, what I do here typically is I go through a list and I will just start dragging out cards that I don't think fit the general theme or are too slow or on what I have in mind. And then I'll review them again later. But typically I'll just drag things out. Now again, I think I'm going to want cards that protect Kratos, that accelerate the game in literally any way, that buff Kratos and make him a bigger problem in combat, and that draw me cards. And some ramp, maybe. Maybe. Those are probably the things I'm going to care about, right? Anything that doesn't fit into those themes, probably not that keen on. Let's have a look and see what happens. So I'm going to scroll through these cards and then drag them across. So let's first look at the mana base. Is pretty simple. I don't like colorless lands in this deck because we have a 3-red commander and having an opening land with 2 mountains and a colorless land is pretty damn bad. So I'm gonna kick colorless lands unless they're really damn good. Valakut's interesting. Timewinder, that is potentially true, but have you met my Lord and Savior Browbeat? It's just begging to be played in this deck. So, again, I don't like Tyrant Sanctum. It's like, for me, it's too slow. In a bracket 3 deck, which is what I'm going to aim this for, it's too slow. Shinka is fine. Rogue's Passage, maybe. Nykthos, maybe. Mines of Moria. Tapped. I really don't like the tap lands because they're gonna make playing Kratos on turn. Oh, I suppose tap lands are okay. They're better than colorless lands. I'm gonna take out Rogue's Passage for now because I feel like it's such an expensive cost. Pretty slow for bracket 3. Command Beacon, same thing. Maze of Ith, fine. With the context that it shouldn't be part of our basic land count, so it needs to be the 39th land. I love Browbeat. I always want to make it work if I can find a spot for it. Hey Doodlick. Would Alexios be useful here? Possibly. Right now I'm only looking at cards to take out. I'm not looking at cards to add yet. So I will just bear that in mind with suggestions. So Time Winder, Maze of Ith is potentially bait, yes. I'm actually going to put it in the maybe board because of that. But as I say, I wouldn't count it as a land. I would count it as a spell, if that makes sense. It's a spell to protect ourselves, which again, we don't necessarily even want. Okay, so let's have a look at the stack section here. We've got Valakut, the hidden. Creatures you control have haste. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. It's pretty good. Does it accelerate the game? No. So for me, I'm like, don't care. I want the deck to be fast. I want my opponent's creatures to attack. Pinging them for 1 damage is negligible. The creature hitting someone for 5 damage is way better. And our creatures already all have haste, so I think it's a bit redundant. War's Toll. Whenever an opponent taps the land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. If a creature an opponent control attacks, all creatures that opponent control attack if able. Wow, okay. I mean, I feel like this is not really doing anything. It's just forcing people to take instant action because, unless I'm mistaken, you can tap the lands in response to the trigger of War's Toll. So you can still make your mana. You just have to use it all as once. If anyone knows that, I'm not going to Google it right now, but let me know in the chat. If a creature an opponent controls attacks all creatures, I think this is just, it's not doing enough for me. Like, so I immediately think they're not in here, but hit me with some fucking mana bobs, man. Get the mana bobs in here. So where's mana bobs gone? If players taking damage every time they tap a land, like that's what I'm looking for. I don't want people to not play things. I don't want people to not attack. I want people to take damage. So I'll look for more mana bobs effects. But that's definitely something I'm going to want to look towards. So we'll now look at the burn section. Fiery Emancipation of a source. You control deal damage. The opponent deals triple that damage. So I like this. 6 merit mana is just a lot. So I'm on the fence about this, but we'll keep it in for now. It might get cut later. Gratuitous Violence. If a creature you control deal damage to a opponent player, deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. Again, like the good thing is here, it stacks with double strike. So Kratos goes from dealing 2 damage to 4 damage to 8 damage. With this, 2, 4, it'll deal 2 instances of 4. Yeah, it's okay. But 5 mana for an instance for 4 damage is not a lot. It's like, it needs to stack with a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. Dictator of the Twin Gods. A source of damage to opponent player deals double. Yeah, I mean, this is... To me, Dictate is better because it affects all sources of damage. So I like this more. So I might put these in the maybe board because I feel like they're not good enough. Whereas all sources of damage is better. Obviously, it can get us as well. So there's a downside. Torbran's fine, I think, because he turns each ping into 4 damage. We definitely need O'Hare in here. Because O'Hare will turn any commander ping into... well, let's just do 2 extra. Not that great. But O'Hare might be good. I'm going to put O'Hare in for now. I might take him out later. Solfim is pretty cheap, so it's probably okay. I can actually make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Solfram's probably fine for now, but I'll think about it. Mjolnir is... Oh, that's better. It's going to stop scrolling. When it enters the battlefield, tap a target attached to a legendary creature. When it attacks, tap target creature. But a stun can deal damage equals the number of tap creatures that opponent controls. Mjolnir goes pretty hard here, not going to lie. Furnace of Wrath, we want. That's great. Hades Grip, we want. That's great. Repercussion, pretty good. I like that. Katos, also pretty good. I like that. Yeah, I think this deck is going to be a balanced time winder between us causing absolute chaos and us not just getting absolutely ended. This is an instant which should be in a protection section, so we're going to drag this over to protection. Okay, let's look. With Knuckles, whenever one or more creatures you control do damage to a player, create a treasure token at the beginning of your combat. Yeah, I mean, this is basically ramp, to be honest. So I'm going to put this in the ramp section. But as you heard me talking about ramp earlier in this video, is this going to help us ramp into something we actually want to do, or just provide just ramp in general? Probably just ramp in general. Yes, Katos is like super state, which is not a bad thing to consider for this deck, to be honest. Might be in here already. Where's the pump section? Yeah, that stays. I wish it wasn't a Sonic card, but like... You also see I tag things in the deck when I'm going to add things or suggest things with the reg tags, so I can keep track of them. Okay, what else are we looking at here? We've got... life gain, which is probably pretty important. Shadow Spear is really good. Lockstone Warhammer is pretty slow. I'm going to put these, though, in... Where's the pump section? Here. And I will add a secondary column for these for life gain. Yeah, you're not wrong, Dex. Doesn't fit the vibe of many things. Okay, I don't know why we want removal in this deck, to be honest. Like, we want people to attack, so I think Blasphemous, that comes out here. Like, for me, removal is not something that I think about when I want this deck. Pyrohemia deals damage to each player, which can be a mana sink. I think Pyrohemia is just a source of damage, to be honest. I don't think of it as a source of removal. Disrupt Decorum for gold. Hey, Kiko. Hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna take out gold for now. I'm also gonna take out all removal. Chaos Warp I think stays because that's different. To a target, controller is open, the shades of color type open. Wild Magic Search can stay. Currently not yet Time Winder, but it's probably not a bad suggestion. I'm gonna add Alexios. But that fits very much into that like game progression section, right? Yeah, targeted removal I think is fine. But only targeted removal. So the only problem I have with... Oh, wow, yeah, okay. Yeah, life of the party. We keep that. This is again game acceleration. I need to create the game acceleration section. We'll get there. We'll get there. Vandal Blast, probably fine. Abrade, a lot of artifact hate. Spectacular Showdown will stay... I love putting a double count. I love putting a double strike token on an opponent's creature and just laughing. Or a double strike counter. Untimely malfunction is good because it's also protection. And in fact, I would put it in protection as the primary category. A braid, I don't care about that much, to be honest. I think it's a bit mid. Vandal Blast is good because it can just shut down entire decks. Spectacular Shutdown, I think, is also a bit mid, to be honest, because you already want people to attack, and they're going to be doing it already. Okay, I think that's what we leave for removal. Card draw. Italy, way too slow for this deck, I think. I mean, it has haste, but like, is it going to do what we want? Maybe. It just feels not in theme with Kratos for me. We'll keep it for now because maybe I'll get to the ramp section. Unexpected Windfall. I love this kind of spell, so we'll keep it for now. We might struggle with draw. The Ether Spark. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on it. Attach the Ether Spark into one. Draw 2 cards. Yeah, I mean, it's bad, but maybe we'll keep it. I really don't like these swords. They are so slow in Commander. Equipped creature gets protection from red and blue. When it attacks, steals, you draw a card. I mean, like, I would honestly rather have Thrill of Possibility style spells than this stuff. Buster Sword I kind of get. That kind of makes sense to me. Sword of Fire and Ice I think is pretty mid though. We're going to keep this, but I don't love it. I don't love it. Because this can't draw you cards the turn that it comes into play. I'm going to put this on the sidelines. I really don't love cards that don't have an impact the moment they come into play, especially in a deck that wants to have, of course, chaos. Whenever a creature or opponent attacks, if you're the defending player, create a 3/3 red creature token. Now, Kazul I can vibe with, because whenever a creature attacks, an opponent has to pay 3. If they don't, we make a creature, which is good because we can also send that up to be on the offensive. Azul is based, but I would almost put this in the game acceleration category as much as protection. So was there a add category? Game. Primary is probably protection. In fact, I wouldn't call it protection at all because it's player protection, and I think this is just, I don't think we care about player protection. I like Azul though. I think he's good. Where were we? So, which section was he in? Getting lost. Sword of Light and Shadow. Do we care about this? Each equipped creature has +2/+2. It deals damage to player. You gain 3 life from return target. Nope, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's too slow. Throne of Eldraine for me can be card draw, but why are we paying 5 mana to ramp for 4? I think it's just way too slow in a deck like this. Mana Geyser can do really explosive things, so I kind of get that. I don't like this, because what are we ramping towards? I think... My friend, thank you very much for the kind words. Pronouncing your name? Is it Cavallo? Cavallo? Cavallio? Civilizado? Is that remotely close? But thank you, and yes, that is cool. I imagine it's like Cavallo? I don't know. Looks like a South American name, and I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, so it means that my pronunciation of things are not good. Or even identifying what the first and last name are. Okay, so I still don't know if we want any ramp here, I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at all these ramp cards, and I'm like, Like, Curse of Opulence, I think, is fine because it comes out so early. Ragavan, like... Why would we want Ragavan in this deck? Oh, nice. Okay. Well, nice to have you here. Civilized Horse. Clearly not your name, but your handle nonetheless. I don't think I like Ragavan. I think it has such a low impact on the game. Although, in saying that, it could ramp us into a turn 2 Kratos. And for that reason, I'm going to keep it. Rites of Flame, I think, can also ramp us into a turn 2 Kratos. I'm fine with that. So, I don't know how I feel about Sol Ring, man. Like, we have so many red mana pips in our deck, and it can't ramp us into Kratos. I don't think I want any of this ramp. Like, I just don't think it's doing anything for us. Descent into Avanos helps us speed up the game, so I think it's good. Yeah, I think Razorkin Needlehead is the exact kind of card I want. So Razorkin. I would want this to be way more stacksy, damagey. Like, what are we ramping in towards here? Like, even Professional Facebreaker, I'm like, it will give us 2 treasures on our commander. Like, I think Professional Facebreaker is card draw as well, so I quite like it. So it gets a pass. Knuckles, I don't think gets a pass. Mana Geyser is going to be put in the sideboard for now. Seething Song, I think, is fine because it'll play into the theme of the deck. Okay, no ramp for this person. That's not happening. Not on my watch. Whenever one or more creatures attack, one of your planeswalkers, those creatures gain. Whenever one or more creatures attack one of your opponents or a planeswalker they control, those creatures gain menace. I don't care about that because blocking is fine. If my opponents are going to hit each other's creatures, that's fine with me. Gornog the Red Reaper. Haste, cowards can't block warriors. Whenever one or more wizards you control attack a player. Sorry, whenever one or more warriors you control attack a player. Target creature that player controls becomes a coward. Attacking warriors you control get plus X 0 X as the number of cowards your opponents control. It does work with Kratos, but like, I suppose it does work with the double strike. We're gonna leave it for now. I don't love it. Don't love it. Yeah, Time Winder. Good shouts. I have a whole list in my so what I might do is I might get up this. Ooh, actually, is he on here? O'Hare? Oh, I think we're gonna have to go to the Dark Tech in Moxfield for this one. We're gonna have to use the Dark Arts in Moxfield. Oh, let's stop searching. That'll help. I'm pretty sure I have. Oh no, what's happened to my O'Hare deck? Did I delete it by accident? Oh dear. I might have lost my O'Hare deck. Jackal, Campbell, Golem. Yeah, I don't see it here. Von Riel, Lowenly, Sid, Cass, Boros. This Torbran. There we go. Knew it would be somewhere here. Okay, so I've got my in this deck. Oh, visual stacks, please. Okay, so here, are there categories here? Did I not have this in? Okay, there's gonna be a lot of cards in this deck I'll be able to bring across because this deck is all about acceleration. So let me go back and finish my quick review of the deck. I think Gornog is going to get put in the sidelines for now. I don't think he does enough. Bloodthirster gives us double more combats. Maybe. I just want to lower the mana cost of this deck. I think it's really top heavy. Excalibur. We don't have lots of historic permanents. So like... I don't think it's going to work. Superstate is possibly can work. Death's Kiss I feel like is just too slow. 6 mana is so expensive. I like Sound of Drums. I like it a lot. Okay, so I think that's... Okay, we've got protection. We've got last category. Last category. Why we would stop people from attacking, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty brutal here with a lot of this stuff. I really favor hexproof, so we'll see whether that sticks around. Yeah, I don't like... Squelcher to me feels weak because people can just pay the 2 ward cast and our commander should hopefully come out on turn 2 or 3. People are countering it that early, like... We're kind of screwed anyway. Hey, Nick. Thank you. Glad you liked that video. Thinking about... Coming up with that concept made me very happy. Commander's play's pretty good. Okay, so I think this is probably where I would now start tweaking. Yeah. I have seen some of the AI platforms. I think they are okay. But they're not perfect. And I think what's better, what I would probably recommend over using a tool like those if you use AI tools, is just using Claude or ChatGPT, but asking it good questions. You know, for example, say you have a deck that... Now, I'll give you an example, right? I was working on this deck for someone. One moment, please. I was working on this deck. This deck is a... Yeah, it hallucinates pretty badly sometimes. I was working on this deck. This is a take on... I don't know if you know who Tomer is. Tomer is budget magic guy. He has a pretty famous Dragon Changelings deck. And someone had built that kind of deck but wanted to power up to bracket 4. So I was helping this person upgrade this deck. And what I used, I think it was ChatGPT for the time, was to help me find more cards that I didn't know about that did what I want. So for example, I knew about Cryptolithrite, right? Because I was like, well, I like Gemhide Sliver, and I knew about Priest of Titania, but what I didn't know about was stuff like Harabaz Druid, or using it, or saying, okay, well, I know about these spells. What other spells are there that could perhaps make me more mana? things like Magda, you know, and like, because I was like, well, what creatures can do the same thing to make treasures, can create mana of various types using typal themes or tribal themes, and like then you have, okay, well, I can use Mana Wave Sliver to tap my creatures to make mana because everything is a changeling, and then if I tap them and I have Magda, it's going to make me a treasure as well. So like I use AI tools to help me find more cards to speed up the card search process, both basically. With any AI tools, I really recommend against using it to get it to think for you, because A, then you're never going to develop the tools yourself to think, and B, it often suggests bad things. But using it as a tool smartly to help save you time, I think is great. So that's why I recommend using something like ChatGPT over a deck building tool, because often the deck building tools is not an exchange where you're asking it questions and it's giving you answers. It's just diagnosing and giving you like a plan. And that's not... It's going to be doing EDH rec plus some data it's been trained on. And then you're just going to get more of the same. Anyway, not to get stuck on AI. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to quickly look at the last thing I'm going to do on stream now is look at my Moxfield list for, I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to look at my Moxfield list for O'Hare, if I can find it. Where did it go? It's here a second ago. Did I close that? Probably, yeah, okay. And I'm going to look at cards that I might want to include. Normally, I would reorganize this deck into the categories that I want, but I'll do that off stream. This is my budget O'Hare list. But it includes a lot of cards that accelerate the game. So it includes things like, if I look at Mana Bobs I already have in the deck. Burning Earth, another potential good one. Whenever the player taps a non-basic land for mana, deals 2 damage to that player, or deals 8 damage to that player. Because this is going to get played in bracket 2 or 3, I think it's good. Could work. Only problem is it costs 4 mana. But I will at least consider it. Then Ether Sting, whenever one of my opponents plays a creature spell, they take 1 damage. It's probably too low, I think. Spell Shock is nice because it's cheap. Whenever a player casts a spell, they take 2 damage. Because I'm looking for game accelerants, right? Roiling Vortex can be pretty powerful. Especially for these decks that are cheating spells into play. 5 damage if they didn't pay mana. Pyrostatic Pillar can be really powerful against Spellslinger decks. I've obviously done a lot of this research before into these cards. But this is where I also use something like AI, because I can go and I can give it at this card and be like, I like this card. What other cards can you find that are in the same vein? Heat of Battle seems pretty good. Whenever a creature blocks, someone's going to take 1 damage. But it might be redundant because then people might just not attack. I might not have that, actually. I think it gets a bit counterintuitive. In terms of card draw, I think I'm going to lean a lot towards this kind of stuff, like Grab the Prize, which can deal damage and draw us cards in the early game. Because I think really we're just going to want card draw in the early game. Stuff like, you know, Highway Robbery, Grab the Prize, Cathartic Reunion. Gonna probably bring in a bunch of that stuff. Sazercap's Brood that can buff our commander, you know. We gift someone a 1/1. We can attack a different player. We can give Kratos an extra +2/+0, making him a 4 power, so 8 damage with his double strike. It's pretty nice. Ank of Mishra, 2 damage to anyone who plays a land. Seems good. So I think we're going to do a bunch of stuff like that. And that'll give us, I think, the basics of what this deck will be. And I think I'm probably going to stop there because I'm a little bit over. And I need to have some lunch. I've been streaming now for about 3.5 hours, 4 hours. But hopefully this has given you some insight into how I sort of build a deck and build around a deck. I'll probably put this on my Mox field, sorry, on my Architect when I'm done with it. But I think the key themes here for me are this deck was way too slow, way too expensive for the mana costs. I think if I go back to what I was looking at earlier, I'm going to want to do lots of game accelerants, things that are dropping people's life totals, things that are impacting the game. I probably don't care about people attacking. I care about protection spells, I care about card draw, and I care about Voltron elements. Particularly things that are going to pump my commander's power and give him power doubling. Doubling way more so than Double Strike because he's got it already. Because I think I just want to create a deck that just wants to go all in and wants everyone to attack and wants to take the game out as fast as it can. I think a lot of the cards we've got so far are good there already, but between me taking this and finishing the deck, I think it'll probably be trimming the fat, cutting out things that we don't need, and going all in on that. How fast can we get Kratos out? How fast can we play things that drop people's life totals? And probably having a little bit of life link to manage our almost certain impending doom when we have lots of stuff on the table. Everyone goes, this guy is going to kill us. Some cards like Alexios probably as well. But I think, yeah, I think those 5 things, I go back to this. Hello, Angel. Thank you. I love the Philippines. Boracay was one of my favorite places to go on holiday when I lived in Asia. But yeah, game accelerants number 1, card draw, protection for the commander, pumping and damage boosting for Kratos, and maybe some lifelink. And that's probably the things I'm going to want in this deck. So it'll be interesting to see where it ends up. But thank you. I think that's probably where I'm going to stop. I have been streaming again for about 4 hours. My voice probably needs a break. But thank you for everyone that hung out. I really appreciate it. I might try and do these more often if they go well. Today seemed to go pretty well. There's lots of people hanging out. I'll probably try and do them maybe on a weekly basis. Feel free to let me know if other days are better for people. What days you tend to watch streams like this. Super keen on feedback on this as well. If you have any thoughts for me about what you liked and didn't like, feel free to talk about it in my Discord and tag me. But thank you for hanging out, and I will see you in the next video. No video next week. Next week is a quiet week. But yeah. Thank you for hanging out. Dex, you're here from the start, as are you, site. Yeah, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hopefully everyone has a good week. Plays lots of Magic. And thank you for having me, Dragon. You've been here the whole time.